Hi, folks. Bob Mannery here. You're listening to A2D Radio, real sports talk radio for the fans, by the fans, no agenda. These guys are the best in the business. Hashtag it. No notes.
Everybody, I'm Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, and everybody's got a price for lazy booking. Hey, this is your Olympic hero, Kurt Angle, and you're listening to Lazy Booking. No, it's true. It's damn true. Ho! Hey, folks, I'm WWE Hall of Famer Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and if you want to know what's going on in wrestling, check out Lazy Bookings. Ho!
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of Lazy Booking on A2D. You guys know me, Mike Mataraki, today playing the role of the ultimate babyface, and this is Heel Crow.
What up, gang? What up, fam? Welcome to the roundtable. Mikey, who's sponsoring us for this?
Today we are sponsored, as we always are on Lazy Booking, by Gibson Mayer, LLC. Our certified public accountants, make them yours. Find them on the web, gibsonmayer.com. It's tax season. Got to get those taxes done. Give our buddy Jim Gibson a call. He'll take care of you.
Absolutely. Guys, welcome to the roundtable, the WrestleMania roundtable. We know we're a little early. Some of us are going to WrestleMania, though. Want to make sure we can get it. WrestleMania, it's one thing that you can have a conversation about, that it doesn't have to just be about the card. I mean, there's so much that there's 34 years worth of WrestleMania to talk about, right? So, obviously, we said Mike Mataraki. We got Crone. We got Frank Vespi over there running the ones and twos. Thank you, Frank, my man. Special guests here. We got Mark Mattiacci.
What's up, guys?
What's up, Mark?
Mark has appeared on the original Lazy Booking podcast as a guest, and we're actually going to have him on to interview. Mark does wrestle. So we're going to have Mark on. We got Greg Worth, also contributor to the original Lazy Booking. We're going to have Greg Malakovic. He's going to be rotating in. We're going to move things around, and we're going to have a conversation today, guys, about WrestleMania coming up, about a lot of the greatest of all time as far as performers, matches, actual WrestleMania cards. There's a lot to talk about.
Savage Steamboat.
I mean,
I'm just going to leave it there.
It's there. And
It's there.
It's a conversation definitely to have. With our poll question, guys, we're talking who is the greatest WrestleMania performer of all time. You have Shawn Michaels. We have The Undertaker. We got Steve Austin. And I don't remember what.
Was it Hulk Hogan?
It was Hulk Hogan, of course. I forget about the Hulkster because
I believe it was the Hulkster.
Yes.
The Hulkster.
So chime in on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope. Are we on Periscope? I don't know if we are, but if we are, yes.
Twitter.
It's Twitter.
The whole deal.
Yeah, guys, chime in, man. We're looking forward to having a great conversation today about WrestleMania. So, guys, let's lead off with the card coming up. Obviously, this week we talked about it on Lazy Booking. Mike wasn't there this week, so I'm interested to hear how you guys are feeling about Daniel Bryan. Does that excite you more about the card coming up? I know there's been a lot of mixed feelings with the card coming up. You know, it's a lot. They're throwing a lot of triple threat matches and all that kind of stuff at you. But how do you guys feeling now with Daniel Bryan officially back in ring? How's that making you feel as far as an excitement level for WrestleMania 34?
Well, I can tell you personally, I marked out as soon as the news broke early that day that he was cleared for an in-ring return.
Yeah.
And you had to assume something was going to happen on SmackDown that night.
Of course, absolutely.
I actually thought it was great that he started to get beat down, made the big comeback, and was pretty much dominating corner to corner Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. But in true heel fashion, they do come back and they get the best of him at the end. I just found a huge hole in that storyline, which is, like, how does no one, I mean, not even an enhancement talent, run out and try to help the general manager
it's crazy.
from being beat down? But then I took a step back and I thought about it, and I'm like, you know what? They'll probably address it in the storyline at some point. Mm-hmm. And even if they don't, it just makes whatever they take that next step to be more believable.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion.
Yeah, I reference it. He's like the Joel Embiid now of wrestling. I'm like, he's taking a bump, and I'm holding my breath a little bit. And for me, the thing was, and I liked seeing him take bumps. It was nice to see that again. And clearly, if he's cleared to be able to do that. the one thing that was like, oh, I don't know if I was ready for that yet was the haluva kick. Because it looked so good and so stiff. And there was a little part of me, right? So I think we all had the idea it was probably going to be him and Shane versus Owens and Zayn, right?
Right.
Now, maybe.
But there was a little part of me, especially with the way the promo was going, where they're talking about the three of them, I thought maybe they'll hold off on Shane. And what they'll pull, like Kevin Owens is holding him.
Mm-hmm.
And last second, maybe Bryan pulls Kevin Owens in. He
Sammy
takes
hits
the
the
kick.
kick.
Now we have a little friction between them, but they still have their friction with Bryan. You get the triple threat. And then maybe Shane makes his return at WrestleMania with a run-in to help Bryan get the W. I thought maybe that would have been a little more exciting to see.
And then Bryan turns on him. The ultimate swerve.
There's no way they're ever going to turn Daniel Bryan at this point. With his backstory now, with this whole thing,
Right.
I don't think it's possible. But that would be a great way.
Now,
That'd be a great move to try to make that happen.
The comeback has made him like the biggest babyface probably of all time.
Oh, for sure.
I don't think there's any question about it.
Yeah. How did you guys feel watching it?
You talk
on
about that
SmackDown?
kick. What about that apron power bomb?
Oh.
That had me. I was like, oh boy,
I was,
right off the
I was
bat.
surprised they went for that when Kevin Owens did that. I was surprised they said go ahead powerbomb on the
Yeah,
apron.
right off the bat too.
Yeah.
It's like give him a couple weeks and
See,
ease into that.
It's interesting because I actually
There
thought
was no easing into anything.
I actually
Right in the
I
deep
actually
end.
thought that one was predictable.
Yeah.
I thought that what they're going to do is they're going to come out and they're going to make a statement right out of the gate to the shareholders and the people that look at it from the business side that he's going to be able to take just about anything if he can take an apron power bomb.
Well,
so to me that was predictable, but I don't disagree with you. It looked rough.
Well, I've
Looked
talked
real
about
rough.
this. I was just happy that we didn't have any awkward sounds after taking the bump, which is got a little,
that
little
looked
awkward.
weird.
I think Ryan was talking about it on Thursday, and he's like, dude, like he wasn't even in the room, but he could hear it on his television at the point with the Shane power bomb on the whatever the metal scaffolding, whatever they had. And he's like, even me just walking by my room and hearing that, it's like, is this like some awkward porn that's
Yeah,
on right now? It's like so weird.
It was weird, definitely.
But no, I mean, and again, it was predictable to know that we're going to go in, and maybe it's not a bad idea to have him ease in with a tag match, you know, in a different way, like with Ronda, where you're easing her in with a mixed tag match. Different circumstance, but not just kind of throwing him out there. But I mean, it was exciting watching the drop kicks
Those
in the
drop
corner.
kicks were vicious, man. Right?
I
They
miss
were
them.
sky high. Bam! Everyone right in the face.
Full throttle, man.
Perfect.
Full
Full
throttle.
throttle.
And when the flip back, I got a little worried with the head
That,
there.
I was going to
too.
say,
oh my God.
I think I was more worried about him landing after hitting the drop kicks than I was him taking any offense from either of those two guys.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm going to be interested too with SmackDown coming up. We're about 2 weeks out from WrestleMania at this point. 2 more shows for Raw and SmackDown. The card's pretty much set, but I'm going to be interested now to see how this is going to go as far as, you know, are they both out? Who's going to run the show this week? Is Shane making his return this week? We don't know. So it's going to be very, very interesting. How do you guys feel about the rest of the card? So we can go down the card if we want. We can go match by match where we're at. I think it's safe to say we're probably going to get Cena and Undertaker at this point. I'm excited about it. So wait,
Don't want the Undertaker
but
back.
let me ask you this. So we're going to be there, and we were there last year, right?
Yes.
So I've had conversations with people who were at Mania last year, and I want to hear from the perspective of just kind of sitting home and seeing it played out and the way that the commentary did. I actually don't think I've even gone back and rewatched it since. So I've never heard the commentary. But do you feel like it cheapens last year?
Yes. You can't duplicate that. Like that was that is the only way for that man to walk away like in that fashion.
Right.
You can't without him saying a word.
So
that was it. I'm leaving.
now, do you guys feel like it cheapens it for you as far as a fan, whether you're in the crowd or at home, following the Undertaker's whole career? Do you feel like that cheapened that send off last year?
Go ahead, you go first because I have an idea, but go ahead.
It's probably I bet we're on the same level too. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
For me, it definitely did. The way he exited the ring, he left his coat, left his hat, and he kind of just walked off. You know, it was kind of like walk off into the sunset. Like, you know, I've done so much over the years. You know, you can tell he's getting older. You can definitely tell he's not to the caliber he used to be because he's getting so old. So the way he went off and, you know, into the back and everything like that, I was like, all right, if he's going to retire, that's the way he should retire. Yep. And now I kind of reference it to like an NFL thing with Brett Favre. Brett Favre went out, had a great career, retired, and he was like, I can still play. Like, I want to come
Came
back.
back the next year,
now-
come
back.
and then the thing that gets me though is we haven't heard really from the Undertaker in terms of WWE storylines since WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, John Cena is like, "Oh, I want to challenge the Undertaker at WrestleMania." It's like, well, where's this coming from? Like, I don't know of any backstory that would lead me to have John Cena want to challenge the Undertaker.
Well, I think that backstory is that the only person in WWE who basically has a free pass to WrestleMania whenever he wants it is the Undertaker.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if Cena's going to go, the only avenue he has left is the Undertaker.
Right, absolutely.
I don't disagree with either of you guys, but for me, the send-off for that character
Yes.
was perfect.
Yes.
Now, for him to come back this year, he's got to come back as the American Badass.
Correct.
And if he comes back as the American Badass, the whole, taking off the jacket, the gloves, the hat, leaving everything in the ring, he left that character in the ring, and
Correct.
that's fine.
Yep.
So for storyline continuity, if he shows up on a motorcycle as the American Badass with Kid Rock, who's going into the Hall of Fame,
Correct.
playing live on stage,
Yep.
the entrance music, that's how you get away with bringing him back for one last ride. And I do, pun intended there.
Yes.
Last ride. So I think that works.
And we're at the same level. My thing has always been, everybody said, well, he retired last year. When did he actually retire? And I've said it. I didn't believe even last year walking out of that arena that he was retired. Everybody said he's retired. He never retired. Everybody retired him. I totally agree. So here's how I'm booking it, right? Because I absolutely agree. And I said, it makes sense. He's retiring that character. Now, if you notice and you really dig deep into Cena's promos, he's not challenging the character. He's challenging the man. So if you're looking at it, here's how I'm booking it, right? Lead up to Mania, Taker doesn't accept anything. Stays in the dark, silent. Cena goes as a fan. He's sitting in the crowd. Kid Rock does a live performance. You think he's done. Boom. Then he starts the freaking American Badass song, and all of a sudden you hear Undertaker rides out. Cena's like, oh, shit. They show him in the crowd. Challenge him right there. Boom. That's the match right there. I mean, it's kind of predictable, but not. People would still like the Hardy mark out last year where we kind of knew, we felt like it was going to happen, but when it happens and it's that surprise or shocker, dude, that fucking
place
roof
went
will blow
nuts,
off the
dude.
dome.
I can actually take that out a step further because I love that, but I think the way that you execute that is you have Cena in the crowd, but you have him in the crowd in like a pair of dress pants and like a polo shirt. Don't have him in like a hustle, loyalty, respect
Right.
t-shirt. Yeah. Have him there as a fan.
Right.
And when he gets invited into the ring and he, sure, fine, take off your shirt. But say you got to get into a fight with the American Badass in khakis and dress shoes. This is old style WCW now with, guys getting in the ring with dress pants and shoes on and going at it.
Flair.
But it
all the time.
But it completely protects the Undertaker at that point because then you don't have to work a match. You could just have a fight. You don't have to worry about 5 stars and work rate and who wins. You don't have to worry about any of that. You just go and you have 2 guys get in there and kick the shit out of each other for 5 minutes. Maybe Cena takes a last ride at the end and gets pinned and the Undertaker just rides off into the sunset. I mean, there's ways to execute that
I
without.
I think Cena wins this match.
You think so?
That's the only thing,
Undertaker's old school, man. You go out on your back.
And
But he
I
did
don't
that last
I
year.
don't disagree with that, but I think if they play out
Character
the fight scenario,
Right.
he doesn't necessarily have to lose a fight.
Right.
So I'm with you.
Nah, I think everybody would shit on that. If
You
that
think?
was- yeah, just a brawl. It would have to be, if he's coming back, it has to be a match, I think. And I think, just kind of backtrack a little bit, I think the only way me personally can accept an Undertaker return is the American Badass. I talk to my buddy all the time about this, and he's like, oh, it's going to be Cena and Undertaker. I'm like, no, please no. And then all this is starting to happen. I'm like, well, here it goes.
Yeah.
But I'm like, the only way it's acceptable to me is that because you can never, ever duplicate the Undertaker leaving that way that he did last year.
No, and I
So-
agree. And he laid the character down in the
Yup.
ring.
So that's what I was saying about the American Badass. The only way he could come back now is, like you were saying, the character. Okay, I left this character here. Now I have one more run with this guy, and then
One last ride.
So when you
That's
guys
it.
were when you
One
guys were there
last
last
ride.
year,
Yeah.
how long did you guys actually sit there and watch the, like, sort of the aftermath of him? You know, everything gets folded up and left in the ring.
I stayed for the whole thing.
And no, I get that, but
Yeah.
I mean, he walks up to a portion of the ramp, it drops, he's gone. But then, like, I saw that there were, like, I mean, literally thousands of people that sat there
Mhm.
and stared at his stuff in the ring
Mhm.
for like 20, 25 minutes
Yeah.
until, like, they started coming out and, like, taking the ring ropes down and
Yeah.
stuff. And the stuff was still laying in the middle of the ring.
Well, I stayed as long as the music stopped, and they did. They took everything down and left the stuff in the ring for a while. I would say maybe an extra 5 minutes after all was said and done. It was tough to get out. That place is a shithole. I'm just saying.
Especially up top.
The Rose Bowl or whatever it is.
Yep.
It was terrible getting out of there. So we wanted to beat it a little bit, but we definitely didn't want to miss anything. So
Right.
until the music stopped and the lights went on in the stadium,
In the stadium, right.
we stayed that long.
I
And
think-
it was powerful. I'll say that. Being in that crowd, that was definitely powerful. But I walked out of there and said, I'm not convinced he's retired yet. I'm one of the few people. Everyone's like, oh, I can't believe I saw The Undertaker's retirement. I'm like, I'm not convinced yet.
Well, at first I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, well, Taker's been in the ring for a while after Roman's already up the ramp, and my son's like, Dad, what's going on? And I was like, I saw him grab his stuff. I'm like, why is he putting his stuff back on? And I'm like, oh no. And then it like clicked. I'm like, no. And then I see him put it all down, and then see that's another reason why people. With his retirement, if you think about it, I mean, he kind of broke his character, too, walking over to his wife and his wife, getting her a kiss and whatnot, and then walking off. He has never done that.
No.
Ever. Even acknowledged that they were there.
Yeah.
So now he
breaking
acknowledged
for him, that's breaking kayfabe. He never breaks
Yup.
kayfabe. Your son is in the chat and says hello, by the way.
Is he? Oh, hey. What's up,
Nice.
buddy?
Mark Mattiacci Jr. Happy birthday to
Happy
him. His birthday was
birthday.
yesterday.
Nice. Happy birthday.
Oh, hi,
Birthday,
Dad.
buddy.
I'm gonna run on some of the Facebook here, and then we'll hit the YouTube. David Rosca, WrestleMania 34. What's up, guys? Hashtag Stratus Cup Battle Royal for WrestleMania. Hashtag WrestleMania
I love how
34.
Rosca leaves the same comments in both chats.
He's making sure that shit gets on
He's
there.
looking for double exposure.
Manny freaking Rose is the best in the business. Oh, I love you, buddy. He is a Mandy Rose mark. He loves her. Tom Arnone, what's up, boys?
What's
Greg
up?
Malakovic up in the 700 level. Greg will be showing on here.
The skyboxes.
He said, Sean and Taker are my picks. Let's go. Alex Sacco Reed, what up, guys? What up, Chrome? Hello. She knows me. So, hey, Alex.
Hi, Alex.
James Wilder.
What's
Yo,
up,
what's
girl?
up, boys? What's up, James?
What's up, James?
And she says, when you guys
How you
get-
doing, eh? What's going on up there? What's that all about?
Yeah. Alex also asked about Daniel Bryan, which we just talked about. I hope you caught that, Alex. Ralph Delavecchia. So who's hosting WrestleMania at their house? We should make Tom Arnone. Tom's going to have a WrestleMania viewing party. Is he here?
Good luck with that. Tom will be like, yeah, you guys could sit in the studio and watch it on your phones.
Bob Z. Langner. Sorry, buddy, if I got it. He says Kid Rock's a Hall of Fame inductee this year, which is true. Which, again, it just kind of sets the stage for everything. Joe Waring says, I still want to see Undertaker versus Sting in a match, and that hasn't happened. Unfortunately, we're not going to get that match.
Sting is done.
But
time is come and gone.
But in response to that, okay, and we've talked about this, everybody said, oh, it's 5 years too late. Like, we're talking Cena and Undertaker. And what did they say about Sting? It's 5 or 6 years too late, right? But when he got hurt, what was the first thing that people said? Well, they didn't know if they wanted to say it, but now they can't say it, and everybody's disappointed now. We'll never see Sting and Undertaker. And that's my argument for the people who are like, oh, well, John Cena and Undertaker is way too late. Well, but we're still going to get to see it. And I want to see it. It's the one WrestleMania match that hasn't happened that can happen. And I want to see it. Good, bad, and different. It needs to happen. That's my opinion anyway. And Frank Ehrenreich says Michaels will referee the Taker Cena match. Interesting, and that's possible. I would be.
He's done it before, so I mean, he did it for Triple H Taker. So.
I mean, there was an interesting point brought up on the show this week of, do you book it where you have Cena come out and he's cutting a promo and maybe he challenges Undertaker to a retirement match or something like of that nature, but Shawn Michaels comes out on either this week on Raw or the week before and says, dude, you don't want to do that. I've been there. I've lost my career over it. Infuse that.
No,
play up that
it's
backstory, right?
Possibility, yeah.
You know, if you're driving the program and Taker's not present on every show, you're going to need to have other ways to. Now they're infusing Kane and all that. I don't think it's a bad idea.
That's not a bad idea.
you would have just thought, though, with Raw and SmackDown. First off, when do you ever have Raw and SmackDown from the same location in the same week that's not the Monday and Tuesday after a major pay-per-view?
Right.
So I personally think that they had Raw and SmackDown both in Dallas this week by design leading up to WrestleMania with the thought that they're going to have Undertaker on one of those shows.
Right.
And it never happened. I mean, and if you know the history of The Undertaker, you know that the man behind the character was, you know, I don't want to say a legend, but got his start in, you know, what is it, GWF or
Something like that,
GWA, whatever. It's the Sportatorium.
Right.
Dallas, Texas. It was, you know, with the Von Erichs and Chris Adams and that whole deal way back when. I mean, Dallas was basically his home base.
Yeah.
So to have, you know, 2 shows in Dallas 2 weeks before WrestleMania and no sign of The Undertaker, I mean, they're either really, really trying to put an element of doubt in the smarts' minds,
Right.
or they just missed an opportunity, or they don't know what they're doing yet.
Yeah, I think
Which, you know, you would think at this point they know what's going to happen.
2 weeks out, they have to have
Yeah,
it.
I think they have to for like the billing purposes and have everything logistic everything like that. But I think you could see if they do decide to go with the American Badass angle with Kid Rock and all that. Last week, Cena cutting that promo, show me some lightning, show me some smoke, show me something. I can see Cena coming out on either Raw or SmackDown again. We said I think we get Kane on him and Kane.
Kane on Raw, yep.
On Raw. So maybe on SmackDown, Cena comes out, or maybe even after he beats Kane on Raw, says, Taker, I just beat your brother. Now where are you? We're gonna come out, defend him, whatever. Maybe we get lights go dark, maybe some lightning, and maybe get something to show up, maybe at the top of the ramp, like a prop of some sort, something that's Undertaker's
Like a tease.
Yeah, like a tease, exactly. And then maybe that following week, maybe we get something a little different, something like that. I want to see something from the Undertaker himself, or at least a prop from the Undertaker, even as a dead man that says, he's at least acknowledging
but that's the key there, though. And you just hit on something. The one thing that I've really taken note of is that John Cena has not referred to him once as dead man.
Other than the very first promo where he said, time to see if you're still alive. That's really the only reference to the dead man.
Right.
See, at this point, I wouldn't even bring Taker out.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I actually
Until
don't want to see that.
WrestleMania. If it's going to happen, wait till WrestleMania. Have Cena just come out, cut a promo, be like, listen, I tried. I wanted this huge match. Now I'm off WrestleMania, blah, blah, blah. Here's the American Badass, Kid Rock,
riding down the ramp on
Kid
the
Rock's
motorcycle.
on the, they set up for Kid Rock or whatever. Cena's out there, blah blah blah. And there you go. At this point, what are you going to wait till the week before WrestleMania? I wouldn't even do that.
Yeah,
just let it go.
Absolutely,
let it be until WrestleMania. Because then it's like, if you know it's happening, at least now it's a little more like, oh wait, maybe it's not going to happen now because we've seen no Undertaker.
Well, and it's funny because back in the day, when they had to drive the buy rates of the pay-per-view, then you were always looking for that last big reveal on the Raw or SmackDown before WrestleMania to give that last bump to your buy rates. But now that everybody's watching it on the network and it's, subscription-based, I mean, I don't have any statistical evidence to back this up, but I would have to guess at this point with their pay-per-views, they have to be 80% network subscribers versus 20% who actually will buy it from their cable company on the box the day of the event.
They even still exist on the boxes?
They do.
I'm going to read this last comment, and we're going to hit the YouTube. Mike Parker actually gave us a few comments. Well, Joe Waring says Kane will be Strowman's partner. We're going to talk about Strowman's possibilities. I don't want to see that. But we have Mike Parker says, hard to believe guys I watched when I was younger as a teenager are still making appearances at WrestleMania. I remember when Kane first debuted. He says, my all-time favorite is Stone Cold Steve Austin. I got detention in middle school for rocking a "Wanna Raise Some Hell" t-shirt. Oh, it's so true. They let me wear a Sandman blood, sweat, and beers shirt around school.
That's
like,
hilarious.
Damn.
Times are different.
I think I have like a fucking school picture with that on. They let me wear it. It was great.
What about the DX shirts?
The DX shirts back in the day.
See, I had
the
the ECFNW t-shirt.
Nice.
But I was in college at that point, so they really couldn't say shit about it.
No, I remember kids getting taken out of class for wearing the DX shirt and having to turn their shirt inside out.
Yeah.
That was great. Let's hit the YouTube.
Rob Povia, who's our producer on Tom and Mike AM and the PM, as well as a plethora of other shows here.
Hockey
Rob
happy
chimes
hour,
in and says, Brock Lesnar must be
Deleted. Yes.
David Rosca left a bunch of comments, which we've already gotten to. Rob Povia says the GOAT WrestleMania performer is Stone Cold. And I wouldn't argue with that, although mine's Shawn Michaels.
Mine is absolutely Shawn Michaels. But there's those four guys, I think, are the probably most notable names to mention.
No question.
Definitely.
Jamie Williams asks, will Sasha or Bayley turn heel? I think it's Bayley.
I think it's going to be Bayley.
It's looking like Bailey. It really is.
There's so many. Go ahead.
No, I don't know. I kind of feel like Sasha is a really good heel when she was heel, especially in Rival with Charlotte and all that. So it's kind of like seeing Bailey. I mean, she looks more conflicted than anything. I don't know. I'm kind of still up in the air about it, but I kind of want to see Sasha kind of go back to be heel. For me
like,
personally, it's just
she's like the Cena of the women's division. Everybody wants her to be that heel so bad.
Well, because she's great as a heel.
I won't even give it to him though.
No,
I mean, with this angle right now, obviously one of them need to be, but
I think it's going to be Bayley, but I just don't know how you really pull that off. Like,
Exactly.
she's not great on the mic where I could be convinced that she can turn it another notch the other way, but she needs some kind of a refresher. She can't keep hugging everybody. At some point, the shoe's got to drop, and you have to make a move with her. So, I mean, I think I'm with you. I think it's got to be Bayley. How many times are we going to see Sasha flip-flop, too? She kind of works like a tweener anyway.
Did you notice, though, Bailey's outfits have started to become darker in color?
Yes.
not as bright.
Not quite as bright, not quite as happy.
Yep.
I'm sure that if she was a guy, there'd be the start of like a beard or a mustache and goatee or something like that. The old Carney rule that the heel has to have facial hair. The baby face is completely clean shaved.
Yes.
SJM86 says, what up, fellas? What guest appearances can we look forward to? I think obviously we know Kid Rock because he's going into the Hall of Fame. I'm guessing it's probably almost a given that he will also perform The Undertaker's theme live. I don't think there's any way you can't do that.
I'm just glad they're not having that K-pop group that was supposed to do it.
Yeah, we know Edge and Christian are going to be there to induct the Dudleys into the Hall of Fame, so I'm sure they'll make an appearance.
I think Hogan makes his return.
I think that's
have a very
strong possibility.
poignant feeling about it.
In the Silverdome?
More in the Silverdome.
In the Silverdome, brother.
In the Silverdome, brother. I'm sorry, Superdome.
I can guarantee you if he does return, he will make a big deal out of the word Superdome.
Absolutely. No.
He will not get it wrong, and he'll make sure that everyone knows he didn't get it wrong.
It's interesting. I mean, he's on our list. I think it's time to bring him back. I just kind of have that feeling. I think he's, quote unquote, served his time at this point. I think he's done enough to prove that he is ready to be infused back in. And you notice more and more they do mention his name and include him in different clips where he was basically given the vacant treatment.
Yeah,
you know,
he was vacant. He was vacant
for a while.
SJM86 also says, GOAT WrestleMania performer. And he says, Rob, I'm going with Shawn Michaels. Not a huge HBK fan, but from the Iron Man match to his last match with Taker, hard to look at someone with more memorable matches.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. I still think one of my favorite WrestleMania moments of all time was him in Boston coming in on the zip line from the top of the building.
Yeah. Yes.
When the Austin match with Tyson as the referee.
Well, no, that was 12.
I'm sorry.
That was in Anaheim, but that was when he came out with that band that was, God, they were the worst band live ever.
The DX music.
Doing the DX music. It was terrible. But, yeah, no, that's when he came out with Tyson at that point. But, no, that is an epic moment. It was in Anaheim, I think, at the Pond, where he came down on that zip line. And what I love about it, and they always say it, Vince will never ask you to do something he wouldn't do. And if you ever watch, like, the WWE's version of WrestleMania's history, they showed the video earlier in the day, Vince coming down on the zip line. And I love, like, Vince, that's Vince, dude.
Yeah.
I'll never ask you to do something I wouldn't do. And he fucking backs it up.
It's crazy. Todd Womack, Philly Dilly guys.
Philly Dilly.
And he says, where is 17? I don't know.
I'm assuming he's talking 17. Are you talking in terms of where do we rank it as far as the Manias, maybe?
And he says, GOAT performance, HBK.
Yes.
So many great matches and also part of some great moments. And then he says it's looking like Bailey. Rather see the boss because we all know a heel run will last long. Okay. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Go back to your other point for, or the other thing that you mentioned there for a second. The who's going to be Braun's partner. I have a crazy idea that will probably get absolutely shit on, but I think it's hilarious.
Go for it,
we
then.
go.
I love when we can shit on something.
Yeah,
No, I'm
right.
kidding. Family talk.
But it's not
Big
lazy.
old
It is
shit on
not lazy booking. It's actually very smart booking.
right.
So, Braun's new catchphrase, get these
Get
hands.
these hands.
Any man with a pair of hands.
Oh, no.
Oh my God.
Please, no.
But when he made his debut, it was in a complete squash
Yeah.
against Braun. So what if Braun brings Ellsworth out as his partner and basically says, you stand here in this corner and you don't move, and I'm going to go win this match.
Yeah.
He winds up tagging himself in, takes the fall, so that the bar retains. Braun kicks the shit out of him again at WrestleMania, and they all leave, and it's bing, bang, boom, and done, and it's good business.
It's not crazy. I'm not gonna shit on it.
Okay, so it's not getting shit on. This is a plus.
I'm gonna shit on the idea of having Ellsworth at WrestleMania, but the way you book it isn't bad.
Okay.
It
I'll give you
makes
that, yeah.
sense. For me, it's gonna be Elias. I absolutely think it's gonna be Elias, or it could. The only other one could be Big Show. I think could be as well.
That'd be a good one.
But my thing with Elias is somebody can take the fall when they're ready to drop the belts, because there's no doubt in my mind that they're winning the tag team titles. I think with Sheamus's neck issues he's having now, he's probably, if he's not done, because I think he's got that whole thing that Edge had.
That spinal stenosis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if he's not done, he's going to need some time off after WrestleMania, which is why a lot of the matches they work, you notice Cesaro's doing a bulk of the work because of the issues he's having. But for me with Elias, and a lot of the pushback I've gotten with this is, well, they just had a feud with each other. How can they be tag team partners? Well, isn't the tag team they're going against, didn't they get off of having a 7-match series against each other and were put together? Boom, right there. Oh, by the way, I mean, how many look at Daniel Bryan and Kane. Guys came off of a feud and were immediately tag team partners. There's a way you can do it and create, an opportunity for both. And again, it protects Braun, because when it's time to drop the title,
Somebody else
Elias
do
can
it.
take the pin.
So Todd just asked what DVDs are these that are on the table with
Oh,
which
yeah.
events.
Let me see.
So we got 20 here.
We got 20, 19,
19,
18,
18,
25, 24, and 30.
And 30, yeah.
I didn't have enough space. I had a ton of them. I just grabbed whatever ones.
It's good stuff, man.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, so no, I think it's going to be Elias. I'm not going to shit on the Ellsworth idea, though. I get it.
I mean, he's in
I get
town
it.
for WrestleCon.
He is.
That's what I'm saying.
He is.
Could be worse. It could be Gilbert.
Well, he's wrestling. He's wrestling Riddle at the
At Riddle at
the
GCW.
the Janela
Yeah.
thing. So, what do you guys think as far as tag team partners?
I almost would rather him just win him on his own. Like, maybe have it to where at some point they're double teaming him. Sheamus goes for the kick. Strowman moves. Bam, he blasts Cesaro. Sheamus, oh no, turns around, right down, 1, 2, 3. You don't have to have him necessarily dominate them both, but I agree when it comes time to drop them, he needs somebody there to. So then maybe he's forced to have a tag partner. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
I think they've already said that he has
Yeah.
to have a tag
does
team
have
Angle
a
said he has to have a
Okay.
partner. Yeah.
yeah, see, that's.
So but he won't reveal it until WrestleMania. So
So it could be Big Show.
it could
Could be
be.
Elias. He
I've-
could
I've-
stand there and say, "I don't have a partner," and Elias, and just
Walking
comes out.
right out.
I've heard rumors of Big Cass. Apparently, he got cleared this week as well.
Well, that's good. I'm happy for him.
That actually wouldn't be maybe not too terrible. I mean, they're both big boys, so
Man, they'd be tough to beat.
they would be.
They would be tough to beat. Who do you got?
Well, I mean, I definitely like the Ellsworth angle. I think
You
I think-
like that?
Thank
Of course
you.
fucking
Yes,
like that, Greg.
I love it.
I like it.
Schmuck.
I mean, no, I,
Hey.
Not you. He's a schmuck.
You don't talk about my partner like that.
Come and get these hands.
but I really feel like Strowman, going the angle, and Angle will be like, all right, well, who's your tag partner, and Strowman will be like, well, I kind of found somebody, and again, have somebody. If it's not Ellsworth, have somebody along the lines of an Ellsworth who was a complete squash whenever he gets in the ring. Like you said, stand there. I'm gonna go win these titles, and then maybe, Strowman beats the Bar, wins the titles. He beats up whoever is in his corner, and then maybe in the next week or two, maybe Elias is like, hey, you need to, like, Angle's like, either you find a partner like tonight or whatever by next week, or you're dropping the titles. And then Strowman, maybe Elias gets in a ring with him or comes out and does a great performance. And Strowman's like, all right, and then they kind of have that feud like Daniel Bryan Kane had where they're arguing. They eventually go along. I thought the Daniel Bryan Kane Angle tag team was
It's one of the greatest tag teams ever.
Yeah, it was
I'm
awesome.
sorry.
Team-
Most
Team Hell
entertaining
No.
shit I've ever seen
Team Hell,
in the last 20
especially
years.
in there couples therapy. I
That was
thought
amazing.
It was brilliant.
One of the downsides, though, of Strowman having a partner, that odds are his next feud.
So here's my issue. Right. But here's my issue with having him have no partner. You've already put it out there that the Bar has beat everybody. There's nobody that can go up against them. If you have Strowman go out there and beat the most dominant, best tag team on Raw, there's no value to the tag team titles.
Kind of shit on your whole tag division.
Yeah, I mean, you're done. And we know how much, because he's talked about it, how much Hunter values the tag division and has tried for years to rebuild it.
Well,
there was years where it was awful.
Let me ask you guys a couple questions, though, because I'll point to the Asuka factor in this whole thing in that, I mean, I understand that Strowman has lost matches before, but they've now built him up to the point where he's almost unbeatable. So if you put the tag titles on him, at some point you have to take the tag titles
Which is why you need a partner.
off of it, which is why you need a partner. But, and we've talked about this, on previous episodes of Lazy Booking, does he need a title at all to be over, to be the attraction that he is? Or can he be a guy who literally just pushes straight to the top, and the first belt that he ever wins is a world championship?
Now, see, I might catch a little shit for this.
Yep, I'm ready to shit on you.
But
Go ahead.
that's it's almost like the Ryback thing years ago at WrestleMania 29. Ryback was probably the most over guy that night. One of the most over guys that night. That building was nuts, dude. It was loud. That was the time.
Yeah, I remember.
You had to strike now with Ryback. That was the time. Like he probably should have been champion if it wasn't for Rock.
Well,
At
no.
least even just for a night, just to see like okay.
But we got Alberto Del Rio versus Jack Swagger for the World Heavyweight title with no cash in from Dolph Ziggler. What are you talking about? It's one of the greatest main event fucking programs of all time.
Good Lord.
So my point with that though is like at that if you were ever going to do anything with Ryback, that was the time to do it, and they dropped it. Or then you see like they tried to do a little more at Ryback later, but then it was just a little, too late at that point. The same with Strowman now. Like do you strike now while he's super over, or now do you wait till he starts coming down a little bit and then you try to do something with him, like you were saying with the heavyweight title one? I would keep him totally away from tag, and because now I feel like you're bringing him down a couple pegs where he's
Well, and that's kind of where I'm going with that. Is I don't think he's got any business being in a tag team at all. But they've already built this up for WrestleMania to the point where it's going to be a tag match. Okay, fine, we get it. To me, Ellsworth is the way to have them lose the match, but have Braun come out of it still looking completely dominant.
Well, see, again, that's his whoever he's with, if they win the tag titles, that's his next feud. So now you're even taking him further away from that main event spot, depending on who they feud him with.
So here's my thing, and I know we've kind of seen it on Raw and gimmicky matches, but I would venture to say that Elias has now entered the main event picture. He's fucking fantastic. He's super over right now.
Over.
He's worked with Cena, and he's looked great in the ring. He's a guy that in NXT, I hated his gimmick.
Yeah.
But it transformed on Raw on the main roster, which doesn't happen very often.
Well, I was going to say, how many times have we said the opposite, where someone has had a gimmick
Bailey.
in NXT? Tyler Breeze.
Tyler Breeze.
I mean, we could just
I
go.
love Breeze too.
So do I. We could just go right down the list
Yeah.
of people whose gimmicks worked like a charm in NXT.
Adam Rose.
Yeah, and couldn't get over to save their lives on the main roster. Elias is completely the opposite.
Yeah.
Which
You know what I think a lot of the older guys couldn't get over as much? Not old guys, but some of the older NXT guys. NXT wasn't as – not everybody watched it like they do within the last couple of years. Now all eyes are on NXT, where some of those guys, when they got called up, it's like, oh, well.
Who's this?
Who's this? Who's Tyler Breeze? Who's Adam Rose? Who's, this guy, that guy? And then then they have to basically learn these guys now. Like you see Tyler Breeze, like, oh man, this is stupid. Like but you didn't watch what he did on NXT.
Right.
How over it was, and like how this, that, and a third. So I think that's the problem too.
Anybody who doesn't believe in the Prince Pretty gimmick just needs to go away.
Just go away.
Just go away.
Just go.
Well, kind of to your point of the whole NXT, when NXT first started, I think a lot of people had a bad taste in their mouth from the whole tough enough type of thing, where they thought it was maybe going to be like another type of tough enough thing, was like a competition. Where I really love the way they do NXT now, and they have done the last few years, where it's like it's actual like a brand, where we have these characters come out, they can do different things with them, and it's not on like a main stage. And then you put your best talent from NXT, like a farm system, and you put them in the NXT Takeover. And NXT Takeover is just a lot of them, really, really great matches from start to finish. And I think so. They, like, and to your point, they build more popularity of NXT. These guys come up, they come out, and they debut, and the crowd's going nuts because they've seen what they have done in NXT. They've seen the caliber of matches they put on, both the male and female, and it really helped the brand out a lot. Which is why, again, to your point, why I think NXT gets more viewership, because they want to see who's the next big thing. You got to think a lot of the older guys on Raw and SmackDown aren't really going to be around that much longer, because I mean they're getting older. You got Orton, Cena. A lot of these guys are approaching 40.
Yeah.
You know. Even I know your favorite wrestler, Bobby Roode. You know, he's not the youngest guy in the world. Yeah, so I mean, you have to have the new talent come up, and I really think that's why you get a lot of the viewership on NXT, and it really has been some great things, especially Takeover.
So, and to get back to the tactic, my other thing too is by mentioning Elias and where he's at. To me, he's above the Battle Royal. And you have to have this guy on the card at this point.
Oh, yeah.
It's a perfect fit. And they can go back and then get away from the feud by having them together and then get back to it and turn it up another notch from the gimmicky stuff we saw. Like, that shit was entertaining. Braun coming out with the big bass. And then, but we've seen them fight, but we haven't really seen a real true in-ring program.
Right.
So it's still there for them to capitalize and strike while it's hot. Yeah. So to me, it's just the most logical. I ain't shitting on your Ellsworth idea.
Todd Womack said would still love to see Strowman and Elias do a duo performance at WrestleMania.
Yes.
I really could see it. Maybe not at WrestleMania, but I definitely could see it happen if they take the whole tag team thing. Because I mean, it is entertaining to see Strowman behind like the big bass. I think one time he did the piano, and of course Elias is always on the guitar in the middle of the ring. So I think it'd be kind of entertaining and fun to see what they could do together.
Yeah, this is interesting. SJM86, I mentioned Big Cass. He said Big Cass is coming back at the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. I think if he comes back at the Battle Royal, he's got to win it, because that just immediately...
Who's that?
Cass. I think if he comes back for that, he wins it.
I think it's going to be Rusev.
I would hope it is.
I think that WrestleMania will be Rusev Day.
Yeah, and then he's...
Rusev Mania.
Todd Womack says, do you guys think they hold Lashley for Raw or have him debut in the Andre Battle Royal?
Raw.
I actually think Lashley goes SmackDown. Just my gut, but
it's here. The thing with him, and I'm not sure where they're going to go with it, but I know they would like to do a Lesnar program, but we don't know what Lesnar's status is going to be after. So from what I've heard and read, it's either going to be a Lesnar program or he's basically just going to step in Lesnar's role and become that dominant beast, which I like what he did in TNA and Impact. I think Bobby Lashley has gone above and beyond what he was when he first left WWE.
Yeah, but
he's believable. He cuts good promos.
I just don't see the appeal with him. I really don't. I never did.
I didn't. I wasn't into him the first time he was there, but especially over the last 3 or 4 years, he's a believable badass to me at this point, and he's been in MMA.
Yeah.
So there's a legitimate fight background with this guy. I could believe it.
But that's the thing with, like, all right, you feud him and Lesnar, but why? You're obviously, they're not going to be shoot fighting, and it's just going to be two guys just trying to throw a couple suplexes around. I mean, I love Brock Lesnar. I mean,
I'm a Lesnar guy too. Obviously, Mikey is.
Well, I'm wearing the shirt in honor of what I think is actually going to be his last ever appearance in a WWE ring.
Final match again.
So he beats Taker in New Orleans, then he leaves. His last match is going to be in New Orleans.
That's, to me, that's the irony of it. Yeah,
it could be. That would be very, very ironic. I'm going to get back over here. We got a lot of here on Facebook. We got some conversations going here though between Mike Parker and.
David Rosca also asked, do we get Matt Hardy versus Bray Wyatt again at WrestleMania? I mean, if you do, how? Like, what do you do?
Well, if I'm looking, the positive out of it, whether you love it or you hate it, it's your cup of coffee, and if you like it, however you like it. What I like or what I feel with the ultimate deletion that they just had is that it gives you an opportunity to somehow repackage Bray. I don't know how you totally
Agreed.
pull that off, but now he's in the lake
of
reincarnation. Yes.
And it's wonderful.
Does he come back as Brother Bray and he's, part of the broken or the woken world, I mean, it's very interesting. Or with that, it's the lake of reincarnation. You could reincarnate a Sister Abigail and have a physical Sister Abigail who then maybe is his mouthpiece at that point.
That's awesome.
And Bray's a follower of her, and she, it's essentially he's now my monster, boom. And that's a way you could repackage him. To me, the only person that could do that is an Impact, and it's Rosemary. Would be fucking amazing as a Sister Abigail. Dude. But I mean, that's what I take. So if it's me, I'm not having him be a part of WrestleMania.
I just don't want him coming back as Sister Abigail, like they were trying to do
the
with
drag.
him and Finn.
Yeah.
Like I
was
stay
weird.
away from that.
It was weird.
That's just stupid.
We had
Get a
Drag
female
Bray
to do
versus
it.
Pumpkin Balor. Like that's essentially what it was.
What did you guys think of the Ultimate Deletion, by the way? I loved it. I thought it was great.
I enjoyed it as well.
I thought it was funny. You have a ring in the middle of this yard. And there's an actual ref there.
So have you ever seen the initial ones from Impact?
No.
So you need to go back and
Yeah.
watch them.
So the first time that aired, I'm watching it. I'm like, what the hell?
I was like, what did I just watch?
Like, this is so stupid. And then I rewatch. I'm like, all right, this is kind of unique.
Same
it's
here.
different. All
Right.
right, let's see. And then, because at first I didn't get the character. Like, I'm just like, this is just fucking nuts, dude. Like, what is this? And then the deletion thing, I'm like, like everybody shits on Impact as it is, but now it's like, you're doing this? Like, this is gonna be worse for you guys.
See, I always say that the Ultimate Deletion match, at least to me, it's like professional wrestling meets Mystery Science Theater.
Yes.
Like it's perfect.
They're shooting fireworks at each
I
other. I'm
know.
like, what
I
the
thought
hell is
that was
this?
brilliant.
Well, I thought the best.
Skarsgård.
I thought the best thing though, it was he's like Vanguard 1, engage, and Bray's like, engage what? And then all of a sudden there's like
Explosions.
bottle rockets and fireworks and stuff going off, and it's just like they're literally like south of the border, like $20 fireworks. It's not like major pyro or anything like that, but it's just freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Senor Benjamin, mower of lawns. I love it, man.
Chair with wheels.
Mower of lawns, chair with wheels.
I thought it was brilliant. He gets on the lawnmower and he starts driving towards Bray Wyatt and he does that crap
Yeah.
like reverse, and it just stops. And he's like, "Oh no!"
It's not to be taken seriously, and that's
No,
the thing.
definitely.
Here, people are like, oh, I've never seen it. That's the point. You've never seen it. It's something that is not supposed to be taken seriously. Like you talk back to which one? It was the one with the tag teams where he says,
That was the best. I love that.
"Yeah, when
The Rock and Roll
Rock
Express.
and Roll Express. Yeah, there's all these old tag
and
teams.
him and the Hurricane where they
Yeah.
they bury the young tag team. They say." The man with 3 H's would be proud of how we buried this young talent.
That's another thing I think it took a little long with I mean, obviously the legal stuff, they couldn't do it right away, but like people wanted it, and now that it happened, they're like, oh, it's stupid. Like, come on, man.
I think the people that say it's stupid are the ones that just don't get
just
it.
don't get it.
Like it's
Exactly.
not supposed to be something serious.
No, it's supposed to be in fun, and that's what it is.
I just love the line when he because he pulls out the line and he's like, Bray Wyatt, I knew you'd come. And it's just like, and immediately you're just like in full Mark mode. You're like, this is great.
Oh, and I love like again, if you watch the old ones and you kind of understand where they came with the approach here. And listen, let's be honest. The attempt of the Wyatt compound with the New Day was awful.
Yes.
The
That's garbage.
the whole match with Randy Orton and him was awful. But I loved the references to that. Bray, does this look familiar? And it's like the freaking shack that like
They burned
it
down.
burned
yeah.
down. Like I love that they poked fun at themselves and like referenced all that stuff. It was freaking awesome. I loved it.
I thought it was great that Bray catches the drone and you see the camera shot from the drone of like the struggle, and then Bray's just like, I'll deal with you later.
Yeah.
Throws the drone away and it's like flies off.
I think with Bray, I really kind of want to see him and Matt Hardy kind of like build. I think Bray was best in a stable when he debuted. and he had his
needs it.
stable with the Wyatt family. I really think it was truly great because you can have like guys like Harper and Rowan, these big, huge guys, go out there and fight. I think Bray Wyatt on the microphone is amazing. I think he cuts consistently some really great promos, things like that, and he really helps his character a lot. And so I kind of think with him going to the League of Reincarnation, he's going to come out and maybe join because they even hinted at Jeff Hardy showed up briefly.
Well, I was going to say
briefly.
but was it Jeff Hardy or was it
Brother Nero?
Brother Nero?
Brother Nero.
So, but that's what I'm saying. I think Jeff Hardy should be close to coming. He was even at the Raw Throwback.
Mm.
You saw him with the Farouk and
Right.
JBL, the card game. So I think they're really
Farouk.
hinting.
Love the reference, Farouk.
Love Farouk. And so I really think you could get a stable, if you will, of Bray Wyatt, Matt Hardy, and Jeff Hardy.
Todd Womack actually said Big Cass can come back in the Andre Battle Royal, but it's got to be Rusev Day. And then he also said the first deletion match and Delete or Decay are my absolute favorites.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Couple here. We got Joshua Enon says Coward versus Embiid, tables, ladders, and chairs. That would be freaking great.
I don't want Joel Embiid anywhere near a ladder.
Frank Aaron Reich says Brock wins at WrestleMania. Lashley will be a Paul Heyman guy. Alex Sacco Reed, she says, I got in trouble in high school for wearing an ass man shirt. Had to turn it inside out.
Oh, God, that's awesome.
I'm an ass man. That's one of my favorite wrestling songs ever, by the way.
One of the best.
Matt Mulcair says,
See,
yes, the man with 3 H's would be proud.
See, and it's funny because I used to take that song and hit the pause button for a second. I'm an ass man.
Alex Sacco also asks, will Randy come out on top against Bobby Roode and Jinder? And she says, I'm also really loving the Nia Jax. She says, I'm loving Nia Jax. I hope she beats Alexa. I think that it's safe to say that's probably the direction it's going. So if you're loving Nia, this is a good time to really get invested in her because I'm pretty sure she's going to walk out champion. I don't know what they're going to do with the U.S. title. I hate saying this. I don't care about it.
I actually have a feeling that they're gonna put that back on Jinder, and I think the reason for that is because they're going to Saudi Arabia with this, every title in WWE gets defended in a 50-man Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
I think even though Jinder's not from Saudi Arabia, I think to have someone from a Middle Eastern company or country holding a title
Represent that region.
when they go to that show is going to be very important. I also think that you can do a Rude Orton feud without the belt, and it'll be just fine.
Yeah. No, that's a great point there. I don't see the need to take the title off of Bobby Roode at that point.
I hear you.
Are we
Not
just
so close to
are we
WrestleMania.
feeding the Orton ego? And I like Orton. I'm one of the few guys that likes him. I know he's boring and yada yada yada. I like his character. He's just he's a cold-blooded guy. That's his thing. Whether he's a face, whatever, he's a tweener. He's just that dude. He comes out, the RKO out of nowhere, whatever. But I just
unless the whole purpose of it is to then put the title on Jinder without Bobby Roode having to take a fall from Jinder so that they can come back to that later on.
Well, no. See, to me, Bobby Roode's probably in that match so that Orton doesn't have to take the pin.
We'll see.
Orton's already been pinned by Jinder so many times. You're going to have him take yet another pin at
Well,
WrestleMania from him.
But the other side of that is if Jinder's already beaten Orton so many times, it's believable for him to do it again. He's just got his number. Whereas with Bobby Roode, does it do more harm than good to have him take a fall from Jinder?
I don't think they care about Bobby Roode at this point.
I don't think
It's
they care.
unfortunate,
I honestly
but-
don't think they care about any of those three guys, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. But it is what it is. There's name value there.
Matt says, does Mark have his Father of the Year trophy on him?
No, it's actually at home on my shelf right above my couch.
Mark super kicked his kid, by the way, guys.
I did.
I could show you the video.
I
He
did.
super kicked his kid in the ring.
2 days before class pictures. He had a black eye.
That's a true
awesome.
story.
True story.
I will share that video.
Wait. Well, hold on. I was going to ask you if he sold it,
He sold the shit out of
but
it.
so you legitimately
there
kicked
was-
him, or he just didn't take the move the right way?
No, I kicked him. And the best part is I had Tim's on, and I'm like, you know what? Let me put my shoes on just in case. Yeah, I got him.
I don't think it was intentional, but, things happen.
So David Ross And now that we're getting away from child abuse, David Rosca says, do you think a Dream Mix Match Challenge, Dream Match, Reigns and Stratus are the odds-on favorite to win the tournament? I don't understand the question. I mean, would Reigns and Stratus be a Mixed Match Challenge Dream Team? Maybe. I don't know. I still think it. I think Asuka wins. Asuka and Miz win the whole Mixed Match Challenge thing.
You're not going to have her lose her streak in the Mixed Match Challenge.
No.
Let's be realistic. Eric Hay says, as over as Rusev is, does he make the most sense to win the Battle Royal?
Yes, absolutely.
Simple answer, absolutely, at this point. But, here's my only thing with that. The guys who win tend to not get the push. I could see him being the guy to get eliminated before the win. Maybe Cass comes back, and it's him and Rusev at the end, and then Rusev gets that push after because you look at Jinder. Jinder got the push. A lot of times the guys who follow up or the runners-up or the third out of the top three, those guys end up coming out of the program and having a push. So
But those guys weren't over going into the Battle Royal. Not as over as Rusev. I mean,
Cesaro arguably was.
yeah, all right.
With
I'll
the
give you Cesaro
fans.
with the fans, yeah. But, like, dude, at the Rumble, they had Rusev Day calendars.
I know.
Like, how do you not?
I know.
How is this guy not at this? You know what I mean? He's
Rusev Day.
super over
Guys, what's
right
today?
now.
Rusev Day.
It's Rusev Day every
Rusev
day.
Day.
Every day's Rusev Day.
But
Actually, what's funny is I think today is Lana's birthday, and they're doing an appearance today at the I Play America
saw
in
that,
Freehold.
Mhm.
And I was like, how great would it be to, like, show up there for the appearance and make such a huge deal out of Lana Day because it's her birthday?
That'd be freaking great. Matt Milcarrick says maybe Hogan as Braun's partner.
Wouldn't hate it.
I wouldn't hate it either.
I would
love
not hate it.
For nostalgia, I would love it.
I would love it even more if it was NWO Hogan.
Oh God.
Hollywood.
If the Jimi Hendrix music
Voodoo
hits
Child?
and Voodoo Child. How we doing, Frank? 3?
We got
Thank
3
you.
minutes.
All right, good.
3 minutes before our brief break.
Yeah, we'll take a quick break. I'll tag out to Greg and get a fresh voice in here for you guys. But
Yeah, no
so-
more Ellsworth references.
hey,
I'll bring him back. Don't worry about it.
you shut
Christ.
your mouth when you're talking.
Shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
So in the last 2.5, 3 minutes, what else do we want to hit real quick? I mean, you want to? I mean, can we do Charlotte Asuka real quick? Because I think we're all kind
let's
of
get in on that. Yeah.
that's. I mean, we're all in agreement that that's Asuka, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think it's gonna be really, really good though.
I think it's gonna be.
Way better than her and Bliss would.
Absolutely.
And I
Now,
love Bliss.
How do you feel about Rousey and Kurt? Are you excited about it?
Here's the only thing with that is I feel like Stephanie can't carry Ronda. So I would have rather seen somebody in there that could kind of carry Ronda to a better first match.
Well, let me give you the flip side of that, though. Are they doing it with Stephanie to just have Ronda completely boat race her all over the ring and have the men's side be more competitive?
Correct.
Probably, but also at that point, what does that do for Ronda by having her just mow somebody down like that?
But let me
Like,
make
it's
this
not-
point. With Stephanie in the ring working with people, I go back to things like SummerSlam with Brie Bella, who's not a great worker. Let's just be honest here. She's had decent matches
Oh yeah,
in
but,
the ring with people. So I think the other guys are going to do the work,
and then just,
but she can work enough to make Ronda look good. And she's a hateable enough character
oh yeah, to get Ronda where she
to
needs
get
be.
Ronda over in the beginning. I mean, it's the only way you're going to be able to do it. So, so why don't we take our break? Mike, you're going to give us the
We got about a minute. What do you think on the Rousey, Kurt, and then Stephanie and Triple H?
I just want it to be good. I've been a Ronda Rousey fan for a while now, so I really just want her to come out. You know, 'cause I know she's dedicated to whatever she does, regardless of what it is, MMA or whatever. So I really just want it to be a good quality match. And I wish it was something a little bit better than Stephanie, but the Triple H Kurt Angle I think is going to be pretty good. I think overall it'll be a decent match.
Keith Daly says to touch on that point. Two things he says. To touch on that point, when we were talking about Rusev earlier, he says how many guys were as over as Rusev, which we mentioned. And he also says, I heard Steph is training to make this a real match, to be a better worker in the ring. So that's
Good.
interesting.
Well, if you've ever seen any of the Triple H Stephanie training videos from
They're hardcore.
their basement at like 1 o'clock in the morning, they are hardcore. So,
All right. So
we're going to take a
Yep.
break.
Go ahead.
For everybody who's watching on Facebook, we're actually going to roll over to YouTube at this point. So we'll put the link in the comments on Facebook chat. Join us on YouTube. My tag team partner on Tom and Mike AM in the PM, Greg Malakovic, is going to come down and hop into this seat, take you guys the rest of the way. Remember, sponsor, Gibson Mayer LLC. Our certified public accountants, make them yours. Find them on the web, gibsonmayer.com. Also like to thank BMW of Atlantic City, BMW Atlantic City Studios, Scanzano Sports,
Stream
Smart Vinny, all of our sponsors doing everything they can to make this possible for us today. We'll be right back.
Hi, folks. Bob Mannery here. You're listening to A2D Radio, real sports talk radio for the fans, by the fans, no agenda. These guys are the best in the business. Hashtag it. No notes.
Welcome back to the WrestleMania Roundtable here live on A2DRadio.com. If you're joining us still on YouTube, thank you for sticking with us. If you're jumping over from Facebook, thanks for the jump over. Hope you enjoy the rest of the show. Brought to you live from BMW of Atlantic City Studios, BMWAtlanticCity.com. Also brought to you by Gibson Mayer, our certified public accountant, Gibson Mayer LLC, GibsonMayer.com. Poll question brought to you by Scanzano Sports. We're talking WrestleMania, guys. We're talking the greatest WrestleMania performers of all time. Specifically, this second half, we're going to dive into the history of Mania. So who is the greatest WrestleMania performer of all time? Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, Hulk Hogan, Steve Austin. Is there somebody else that you look at as the greatest performer of all time? Chrome, Mark Mattiacci still here with us. Greg Worth still with us. Frank over on the ones and twos. Greg Malakovic over
What's
on
up,
the
fellas?
couch. What's up, buddy?
What's up?
Jumping in Mikey's spot. We had to kick Mike off with that James Ellsworth nonsense up there.
That was terrible. That was terrible. Good Lord.
This is what I'll say. This is what I'll say to Mike. If Mike, I don't know if he's listening, but I'll say this. If you do have Ellsworth as his tag team partner, the way I would book that, I would have them win, not have him take the loss with Braun, and then I would have Braun come out on Raw and say, I got what I needed out of you, kick the shit out of him, and then he's the only tag team champion then at that point. You could do it that way. And this way it's kind of a two appearance payoff, and then Ellsworth's out the door yet again. But yeah, we're gonna talk WrestleMania, the history of it. We're gonna go through some of the different main events and really kind of how it's transcended and transformed over the years. We'll talk commentary teams. We'll talk our favorite matches all time of WrestleMania. So, Greg, I know we've hit this card, and we'll continue to talk the card as you guys jump in on YouTube. Is there anything you wanted to add in regards to some of the programs coming up? Cena and Undertaker, any of that?
No,
kind of stuff?
I mean, I agree with you guys. All your guys' take on that. Like, you can't be the dead man. It's got to be some other form, which is obviously the American Badass. But I'm a big Elias and Braun guy.
Me too.
I think if Elias starts out maybe Raw or cuts a promo and he's singing a song to Braun, you know what I mean? And then, like, at the very end, he's like, just brings it on. You need a partner. You got my respect from beating my ass all these times. Let's go. I got your back type of situation. But if he sings a song to Braun, I mean, I think it'll go over so well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he gets you in, and it's coming. He's going to start off with the real nice, and everybody cheers him. Walk with Elias. And that the punch in the face, the little digs to get the cheek pops are coming, and he gets the boos. And I love that. It's like The Miz. It's like his character's so good that people can like him but still love to boo him. It's not like a lot of these heel characters where people are going to cheer him regardless of what they do. And to me, that's a testament because it's so hard now to be a heel, I feel like, an effective heel, and get the boos. Yeah. And I think Elias is on that level, dude. He is a main event player right now, and I'm loving it. And you can't keep him off the card.
And it's so funny because I kind of do the Elias walk on you guys every Thursday.
Yeah, he does.
As I come home from work, I walk right through the show. But, in the beginning when he was just coming in, you're like – because I'm not a big NXT guy. It's just too much I watch too much TV. I'll admit it.
No.
But so to keep up on everything
it's a lot.
Is a lot. So I didn't get the gimmicks, and I'm like, there's this random guy backstage just chilling, playing a guitar at any given segment.
Drumming the guitar, yeah.
Where's this guy coming from? And and then now he's really good.
Yeah, I mean, for me, NXT, it was tough to watch. I just didn't enjoy it. I didn't get it. I didn't think it worked in that closed setting environment. When you put him on that big stage, when you put him up with the big boys, and he's behind those big arenas, and you just kind of see him in the background strumming when he first came in, I was like, all right, I'm kind of digging it a little bit more. And then when he finally was sitting in the ring, and he's doing his songs, and he's shitting on the crowd, I absolutely loved it. I'm like, this dude is going to freaking get over like crazy. And that Cena, when he had that first interaction with Cena, people talk about Cena doesn't get guys over, put guys over. To me, that was the first time you're like, that dude had a great segment with John Cena. And it just rolled from there. And he's been red hot. And then Braun. And, I mean, he's been fantastic.
Cena went over those matches, right? He won?
Yeah, but wins and losses don't matter.
Well,
at
no,
this point.
that's my point, though, with Elias. He didn't need to win. You know what I mean? Like, him not winning did more for him than him winning.
Absolutely. And that's the whole thing now. I mean, I think it's fair to say wins and losses, unless it's like a WrestleMania or something, really wins and losses don't matter as much. You know, it's all about how the story plays out in the ring. Can you get guys over? And that's the big thing. I mean, we're talking greatest matches of all time, right? Look at Savage and Steamboat. Savage took the L in that, but look where that catapulted him after that match, out of the Intercontinental title picture, and put him into the WWF title, in that main event picture. You look at just the in-ring storytelling of Rock and Hogan, or Undertaker and Shawn Michaels twice. I mean, it's about what the story that they're conveying and how these guys come out. So that's for me. But let's get into that, guys. Let's talk about what you would look at as like the greatest WrestleManias of all time. Because I think when you go through and we see where it originally came, and I will say this, it's awesome how it kind of grew. If you go back now and try to watch some of them old WrestleManias, they're tough to get through. WrestleMania 1 and 2 specifically.
Yeah.
But, you know, it goes from closed-circuit television to now they're in front of 93,000 people at the Pontiac Silverdome. And it is the Silverdome, not the Superdome. And then it just kind of rolled. Then they had the Atlantic City ones, and they just kind of rolled through. And the evolution of it, it's interesting to go back and kind of see. And I started watching bits and pieces the other day with the snow day of like different matches at Mania, and to see where it's at now, and having been able to experience it, it's like a Super Bowl vibe in whatever city. I mean, it's a week festival. The city freaking blows up. I mean, you got people bidding for it like they bid for the Super Bowl at this point. And that's where they've gotten themselves to. So my question now is, let's look at where it came from. Like, where do you see, if you rank the overall Manias? Like, I have a top 5. I have a reason I have my top 5. And then I have, like, honorable mentions. But it's interesting because when I rank my top 5, I look at the overall card. But I have other ones that I look at and I'm like they're an honorable mention. They maybe weren't the greatest Manias, but there's great things that came out of it. So, like, for me, I would go, to me, 17 is probably the greatest WrestleMania of all time. You talk top to bottom with that card. You had that was Undertaker and Hunter the first time. Mm-hmm. You had the Austin turn with Vince, which wasn't great. The follow-up wasn't great with it. But you look at all the different matches in there, and that crowd was freaking crazy. Then I put WrestleMania 3, Hogan Andre alone. It has to be on there.
You're wearing a shirt.
Fucking right. I mean, that alone, and you talk about that main event, it's just crazy. And then I would I liked 31, probably the greatest ending to a WrestleMania of all time. And then you had you had Sting, you had Hunter, and you had that suspend actuality and just have that moment of DX and NWO. We know it doesn't make total sense. But like, what a cool, like, that was the kid in me came out and marked out in that.
You always wanted that as a kid. You wanted to see the DX versus the NWO.
Yeah, you wanted to see that pay off in something real.
Yeah. And then there's the Sting and NWO, they were always against each other pretty much. But again, you suspend disbelief. You're getting the Monday Night Wars payoff you always kind of wanted to see.
Always wanted.
Right? I definitely put that up there. If I'm talking, somebody save me here. Give me some of your guys' Manias, because 19 in Seattle. Brock and Kurt. Michaels Jericho. Hogan
great.
Vince. Probably of all the Undertaker matches when they started kind of recognizing, that's probably the least enjoyable. I was one with
was that the tag team?
Yeah, Big Show and Albert. And who? Nathan, 15's on there. 15 is actually my last one, because you look at 15, and that's the whole Hogan or Austin Rock, the real inception of the main event program that they had for years, and 3 WrestleManias they had that main event.
See, a lot of people shit on 15. I thought 15. Like, I don't have a favorite. I don't think I can rank Mania itself. I just have like favorite matches and stuff like that. But 15 wasn't as bad. Everybody makes it was like, oh, it's one of the worst ones. No, it wasn't. It was decent.
Fucking Butterbean knocking Bart Gunn out, dude. Like, for real.
Butterbean.
Like, that was one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my
it was.
life. I could still go back and watch that, and you just see him done.
There's been far worse things on WrestleMania than
Definitely.
Bart Gunn and Butterbean. So if you're shitting, you shit on Mania for that reason. Not that you were, but I'm saying for one of those. But
No, I legit like that moment.
so do I.
Like,
It's
that
one of-
knockout is like, holy fuck. Like, I mean, he cleans his clock in that. But I agree. Like, I didn't think that was bad. The things that came out of that, you had the Hunter turn.
Yeah.
First time that really where and then he became the game. That was the birth of that. That was with, what was it? China turned on Kane, and you're like, oh shit, she's back with DX. And then later, like, they did a double turn, like, which was fucking awesome back then. And obviously Hogan, I keep saying Hogan, damn it. Austin and Rock, and you had the Boss Man getting hung from the cage. That was the weirdest moment.
That was the Kennel from Hell match. No, that wasn't Kennel.
No, that was Hell in a Cell.
But it wasn't at the. No, it's Kennel. I'm thinking something else then. Yeah, that was probably the worst Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't good, and it was an awkward ending.
Yeah,
It's
with
like,
him being
so
hung,
he's
it's like
kinda, yeah.
then they cut the commercial.
And they had the and then they had the Brood up on the top hang. It was weird. I love the Brood too. I thought it was a great gimmick. Gangrel was a perfect guy, I guess, to kind of.
Hell yeah.
Yeah?
I love their entrance.
One
The
of the best
fire
entrances,
coming up
too.
through. Drinking the blood. From the chalice.
Yeah, I'd be worried as shit that I'm gonna like have my fucking eyebrows burning off though, every time I go up. It only takes one little gust of wind or like a fan to be placed in the wrong spot, and I'm screwed.
That's why they wear sunglasses.
Yeah. But no, so but I agree with you in a sense. There's other things, and why I have these other honorable mentions because people will probably be like, "Oh man, they were really shitty WrestleManias." But there's things that I take out of it, which is why I love watching them. Like I look at WrestleMania 8, not a great Mania. What I loved about it, it was the last Mania with Heenan and Monsoon. Awesome. If you listen to the commentary between them two, it's one of their best ones.
Yeah.
Flip side, you go to the next year, Bobby the Brain Heenan at 9. Again, not a great WrestleMania, but the little, like, it's almost like the laughable kind of things that you look at now, like the 2 doinks and the one line zingers that fucking Bobby Heenan has, and him playing off with Macho Man are classic. If you go back and watch them, they're freaking amazing, and it's one of those things. I go back and I'm like you appreciate those things now when you don't have the commentary that you had back then.
Yeah.
And again, like Mania, I'm telling you, watch WrestleMania 8 again. Ain't the best in-ring thing, but it's freaking – the only thing you could skip is the opening match with Shawn Michaels and the fucking goat of all jobbers, Tito Santana. El Matador. Fuck it.
Oh, hi, Tito.
Skip
What's
it.
up?
What's up, Tito? Tito showed up. For the
That's
thing.
right. Tito did the job to get Michaels through, and that's the way. You know, watch it because that's the real Tito. But no, I mean, I look at that, and again, you know, with WrestleMania 3 too, you're talking, and Mike referenced it earlier. You're talking Savage and Steamboat, like
Probably one of the best ones ever.
yeah. I mean, it's an amazing. It still stands the test of time. It's still the benchmark for workers.
Yep.
And it's great. I mean, what do you guys see? What's some of your favorite matches or some of your favorite moments from WrestleMania's past?
One thing I absolutely loved, and I might get some crap for this, but whatever, is the gimmick battle royal. I wish they kept that around.
Yeah, that was great.
That was one of the,
That was a 17 one, I think, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was great. It was nostalgia. You know what I mean? That's all. It's good to see at WrestleMania.
Yeah, and they weren't too incredibly old at that point.
No.
To come out as opposed to in 2009, they're still trotting Hacksaw Jim Duggan. In 2015, we're still seeing the fucking Sarge come out.
Yeah.
Like,
And you're like, dude, don't bring a hip in the
Jesus
ring. Just get in the
Christ.
ring, let alone however you're going to exit the ring. Like, can you place him down gently?
again, that's that's what those kinds of things are what trained me to prepare for Joel Embiid games.
Isn't that the Bobby Heenan say on there something about the Iron Sheik getting in the ring? It'll be WrestleMania like 40 or something like that. He was taking forever.
Yeah, and I think that was Okerlund. I think worked
Me
the
too.
commentary with him, right? And again, classic Bobby Heenan running the zingers out there. Like, that was awesome, and I agree. I wish they would have kept that.
Yeah.
Fortunately, they didn't keep that. But
The one and done.
like, what's some of the other moments? What do you like? What do you look back at?
I kind of look back when I look at WrestleManias. I mean, it's kind of one of those things. You can talk any major sporting event. There's things that happen, and you're like, kind of. There's other things that happen. You're like, wow, I never really expected that. So for me, for WrestleMania, I know you just said at WrestleMania 1. I think you really got to look at WrestleMania 1. Yeah, granted, back then, no world title defense, so which kind of hurt it. It's WrestleMania. You have to have that title be defended. But I think when you look back on it, Vince McMahon took a huge gamble doing this huge thing. And then now look at it. We're at 34 years, and you've had fans. And then we can go back and say, I can go back in WWE and never can experience that. I wasn't alive like Chrome was. He's old.
I was 10 days old when WrestleMania 1 debuted.
So you can go back and watch
I was
it.
10 days old.
And
Were you there?
I wish. I fucking wish, bro. Believe me. I wish.
He was born in the ring. But like you kind of like you look back on it, and then you can look back at it now. So I mean, but still, I kind of took some notes here. It was at the Garden, which I think as a sports fan, I think is probably one of the single greatest sports arenas. Definitely one of the most iconic.
Oh, absolutely. In the world.
If you talk sports history, you're Madison Square Garden.
And I hate that it's in New York because I don't want to give them any credit.
As a
hate
Philly
New
fan,
York.
But you also had a tag team match. You had U.S. Express versus Nikolai Volkov and Iron Sheik, which I love those characters. Iron Sheik and Volkov, those two guys, Russia, all that. I thought it was brilliant. Then I can go back to I got WrestleMania 23. The Money in the Bank ladder match goes from 6 competitors to 8, all of which I think will be probably Hall of Famers if they're not already. You had CM Punk. I know you guys have a little feeling about CM Punk. Whatever. Booker T, Edge,
That's what
Jeff
I think
Hardy,
about CM Punk. Sorry.
Matt Hardy, Randy Orton, Mr. Kennedy, and Finley. I mean, you look at those eight superstars, and you really see a lot of talent. A lot of guys can put on really good work.
Kennedy did it to himself. Kennedy had everything it took to be a big star, and he shit on himself. And he still has issues. I mean, the guy just can't get – he's another one. He's like maybe not quite as bad as Jeff Hardy, but he can't keep his head on straight. And he was – they had big plans for him. And what did he do? They had to take the Money in the Bank off of him. Fucking idiot.
Yeah. I can go. I have WrestleMania 22 in Chicago, hardcore match, Mick Foley versus Edge.
One of my favorite matches of all time, dude.
I think that match in general. And I think one of the more impressive things was with Edge how he was matching Mick Foley's, intensity and how, like, just ruthless he was, in that match. And you also had a triple threat match. You had Mysterio, who won the Royal Rumble that year, versus
That was
Orton.
the Eddie year.
Yeah,
That's when Eddie passed away.
I think it was October, November of the year before that he passed. And you got some against Orton and Angle. And then you had Mysterio winning. I've been a Mysterio fan ever since he was in WCW. I think he was great. And he came in WWE. He was like almost like a Daniel Bryan type ultimate underdog. And then he finally got a world title at WrestleMania. So you kind of look at that. Like, I always look at the build up and things like that. So for me, definitely, I look at the history leading up to the matches and overall. So there's just a few of mine. I don't know.
Well, that was like a feel good time too, with everything that went down with Eddie. And again, you're right with the underdog thing. I mean, in actuality, now I don't know if I would believe him as a world title, but it just fit that time.
Yeah.
So great. And when at a time where the company kind of needed that, there was a lot of down with Eddie passing away and all that. Like, that was a huge moment, and it was a testament to everything that those guys went through and worked together. That was cool. And the great thing about 22 also, first of all, you talk about Foley and Edge. Anytime somebody tells me that wrestling's not real, and again, we say it's booked and scripted, but for a fact, you don't mind barbed wire, but you hate glass, apparently. But, like, you fucking feel that shit, right? There's bumps, and they are actual bumps. But I tell people, all right, if you don't think this is real, or the things that they go through are like they don't fucking feel that, I put that match as the match I reference. As far as WWE, and you can go back to ECW stuff, but like they'll know who those guys are.
Yeah.
And you look at that, and I'm like, that shit. Tell me, and everyone who watches it, they're like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, exactly. They're like, is that thumbtacks in his back? Yeah, it's a fucking thumbtack.
Is that real blood coming from his face?
Yeah,
it's real blood.
Yeah, like his eyes are open and blood is running in his fucking eyes. Like, that's a real thing happening, guys. That ain't fake.
They're fake thumbtacks.
Yeah, they ain't squirting ketchup on eyes, okay? But that in Chicago, that Chicago crowd was hot. And you talk about that main event with Hunter. Oh, and that was Vince and Shawn. That was the tease for the DX reunion. So you had I love that match with Vince and Shawn, by the way. And the Shawn jump off the ladder. And I love when he talks about it. And he's like, oh, it was a lot higher than I thought. Here we go. Oh, shit. And he puts Vince through. And then Vince getting carted away with the middle finger up. And then, again, you go back to the heat that was on Cena. Because it was so opposite the year before when he won against JBL. Like, go back and watch that. And people are like, when was Cena? He was over. I mean, that crowd was nuts for Cena at that time.
Yeah.
22 to me was the real point where it started turning against Cena. And that match with Hunter, and that's when Hunter teasing the DX stuff. Like, Hunter was a heel working as a face. It was just so great. It was so well done. Just a lot to take out of 22. Then you had Mark Henry and Undertaker, if you're a future Hall of Famer this year. Mark, I know you love that.
Todd Womack here on the YouTube.
What up, Todd?
WrestleMania 17 is my all-time favorite. And then David Roska, my favorite, 17, 19, 20, 22, and 23.
It was a good year. I didn't love 23. I mean, Michaels and Cena was good. I thought the hair versus hair shit was weird.
I say you had Battle of the Billionaires there. Umaga versus Lashley. I thought the build up to that was fun, but everybody knew there's no way Donald Trump was letting his hair get shaved. it was funny watching
President Trump. I was gonna say it's President Trump. Okay.
All right, I'm sorry, President Trump. Yeah, Secret Service about to kick down the door and take me away.
You're done, buddy. You're out.
But it was just funny that you see Vince McMahon in the ring getting his head shaved. You had Austin was the special guest referee, and like I honestly thought Austin was actually going to shave his head the way not shave his head, cut his head. The way like McMahon's like squirming, like that's a real razor. Like I don't know if you want to be squirming right now.
I'd be careful in that chair. But if I look back, my favorite match, and I'm kind of with you. There's so many different Manias that were so good that it's tough to rank and tough to remember what year was which year after so much. Yeah, but I really found myself. When you go back, you continue to watch it over and over again, was 34 and the streak versus the career, Michaels Taker. And I thought, it was kind of almost your last quality match of Taker. You know what I mean? But the build-up, you go back through the build-up of that, them going back and forth, them being around each other for so long, and like the personal type of build-up to that match.
Yeah.
And then being able to reproduce a quality match a second year in a row.
Yeah,
definitely.
Is almost just as impressive as just that one match alone.
Yeah, and that was one of those. It was a 2-year, basically a 2-year program, and it was beautifully executed. No better way for Shawn to go out. I would have a slight disagreement. His match with Punk at 29 was really good.
Yeah.
I think that's the last one. And in fairness to him, I don't know what 30 would have been like because he had the concussion really early in the match. He's never been the same since then. But I would say 29, but as far as an amazing over-the-top storyline, like to me, people talk Savage and Steamboat. I put 25 Undertaker and Shawn Michaels up against any match I've ever seen. Savage and Steamboat, that to me, they're 1 and 1A greatest matches of all time, at least especially on the WWE terms. So,
what about Shawn and Brett?
The Iron Man
match. I don't think it gets enough credit as it should.
It's a great match. It's monumental, but for me, it's just tough to sit through a 60-minute Iron Man match with no pinfalls.
At that time, though, that was unheard of.
Well, what's cool about it, when you hear them both talk about it, and we all know Bret Hart's his own biggest mark. Let's be honest here. I mention it every show because it's the fucking truth. But
because he's got to get it in.
I got to get it in. Him and Tito.
Love Bret Hart.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Oh.
It is one of the.
I am going to say something that is extremely controversial.
Oh, boy.
And I'm going to say it absolutely with 100% confidence behind it. Bret Hart is the most overrated main event superstar in the history of professional wrestling.
Wow.
The only time I was ever entertained by Bret Hart cutting promos was when it was against Shawn Michaels because it was legitimate. He was awful on the mic.
He was awful on the mic, yeah. 100%.
Good worker.
Yeah, he was a great worker.
But to me, I don't get it. I don't get it. And since then, guys who are similar types of workers who've proven what it is to cut a promo and talk are 1,000 times better than he ever was. He's his own biggest mark. He sat there and called Hunter a fucking like a D performer. What? What?
I think when you talk
What?
about what?
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 I think it's tough when you compare like the superstars of today to the superstars. I use the reference of yesterday because the sports entertainment as a whole has evolved so much, that the guys that are performing now have watched these the older guys and say, you know what, I want to do that, but I got to do it my own way, so I want to try and do it better. And there's so many different things these guys can go back. They can reference old promos and say, all right, well I can kind of take this angle, and I can do this with it. So I think I think it's hard to say that guys cutting promos are better than Bret Hart. But when you look back at then when Bret Hart was doing it, I love Bret Hart. One of my best friends was probably his biggest fan. Watching him perform, because I think when you watch Bret Hart in the ring, he was so good in the ring, and that's why I like. That's why I like Bret Hart so much. I kind of try not to put, if you do like a whole superstar thing, yeah, you can say he wasn't great on the mic, but in terms of performing in the ring, I think Bret Hart.
I don't get it.
I don't
just don't get it. It's just me. I don't get it.
This is true. I'm with you.
Fuck y'all. But I still don't get it.
Tom Womack.
You only need to get me. I just don't get it.
Tom Womack's got a really good question here. All right, guys, take all the matches from WrestleMania and make your dream WrestleMania.
Ooh, I love that. Give me like 5 minutes to think about it, though. That's great. Like if we're
gonna say 8 matches.
Every superstar can only be used once.
No, I like it.
Oh my God.
Sorry, Greg. I just stole your notepad. I'm gonna write mine down.
Hashtag
So you know what
all
we'll do?
notes.
We'll take turns. We'll pass the thing around as we write it. We'll continue to talk, and then I'll read it off when I get mine, and then unless you guys have it already. But I'm booking it like each title. I'm gonna have it. You can only use them once. This is like that shitty pay-per-view we were talking about. We were talking about having a jobber WrestleMania, and we booked a jobber WrestleMania. Like the Brooklyn Brawler. Brooklyn Brawler defeats Tito Santana for the world title at the end. Fucking great. Yes. I'm going to book this. I like that.
I gave you my match for that.
What's that?
Special Delivery Jones over Renee Goulet.
Yes, Special Delivery Jones over Renee Goulet. Are we making that a television title match?
It's internet title now.
It's internet, yes.
It's not about television.
Well, Zack Ryder, for all intents and purposes, is a jobber right now, so he can defend his title on that card with Mojo. He can go against Mojo.
That's another one.
He let Emma go. Ooh.
Yeah, but he's with Chelsea Green now.
Oh,
Whoa.
whoa, okay.
Whoa. My man's pulling cards right
Yeah.
now. He's got it. I'm going to book this. So you guys continue to talk about your moments while I book this here, because I got
A moment I have, Flair versus Michaels, the career match.
Great.
Flair.
Great moment.
Because I think the build up from I actually have that on my list of greatest matches in WrestleMania history. I think the build up to that match was incredible. Flair, McMahon telling Flair, next time you lose, you're done. And you look back, I mean, even when Flair went against Umaga, that really was generally a good match. And I really thought Umaga was so over then. He was just big, force a guy in the ring. He was destroying everybody. And Flair, dirtiest player in the game, turns out and beats him. And then you see the performance that Flair puts on at WrestleMania against Shawn Michaels. And Shawn Michaels is my pick as the greatest WrestleMania performer of all time. Yes. He's Mr. WrestleMania. And at the very end, that last super kick when Michaels, is like, I'm sorry.
Doesn't want to do it, yeah.
He's like, I love you. And he doesn't want to do it. And Flair's standing there, tears in his eyes, he's going like this, like, come on, Bray. And he delivers a super kick and he falls on him. And you can tell he's just talking to him as the ref's counting.
Yeah.
It's an amazing moment, man.
Yeah, and just how it all went down.
Well, it's kind of like that moment in the Taker Shawn match where he's like, "Just stay down,
Yeah.
just stay down. I don't want to tombstone you again. Stay down." And then he cuts his throat, and he's like, "All right, well, we know where this is gonna end."
And another one that I completely forgot when we were talking 19. Austin and Rock, Austin's last match. How did I totally bypass that one? That card is amazing at 19 when you really sit back. And if you watch it back, that's a pay-per-view. That one stands the test of time. It's right there. It's freaking awesome. And the fact that, like, Hogan and Vince, for what that was, and I thought it was executed decently, like, you think, like, you finally get to that moment, and that's like an afterthought compared to the majority of the card. It's crazy to think about that.
Well, as you guys get sauce, I'm going to hop out. Mike's going to come back in, give his thoughts on his WrestleMania moments and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
hey, Mikey.
Mikey.
I'm just building my card right now, Mikey.
I thought you were doing your fantasy draft.
I'm doing that. I'm doing that too. I'm up in 3 picks. I just picked Bryce Harper.
Sweet.
I had to. It's a 20-team. Side note, while we're doing the transition, it's a 20-team, 26-guy league. Like 26 open spots on the rosters. Like I'm legit gonna be drafting like fucking bench players at this point. And it's gonna take like 9 hours to do this draft. Desi Relaford, don't draft Desi Relaford. Von Hayes, absolutely.
All right, let me tap into the Sour Patch Kids here for a second.
So, okay, Mikey, let's share your moments.
Little energy burst.
Boom.
Well, now that I'm talking with my mouth full, because I figured you guys were going to have some additional discussion. I mean, for me, put it this way, I'm so old that,
Yeah, we know.
yeah, my parents actually took my brother and I to the Spectrum to see WrestleMania 2 on closed-circuit TV, where they had the 3 different locations. They had, what was it, L.A., Chicago, and New York.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing matches in all 3 locations. All the major arenas around the country had it on closed-circuit TV. And all they did was take, like, these big, gigantic screens and put them all on, like, the Spectrum floor, and you're basically sitting there watching it on TV. And it was fun, but that wouldn't be a moment as much as it would be like a memory.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, my favorite WrestleMania match of all time, other than the finish, is Savage Steamboat. And I alluded to that earlier. Like, I hated the finish, but I love the match
With
itself.
the small package?
Yeah, with the small package and, you know, the whole, like, interweaving of the storyline with, like, Georgie Animal Steel and Elizabeth and all that stuff. Like, okay, fine. There's a storyline behind it and everything. Like, I didn't like the small package finish.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the match was almost as perfectly executed a match as there's ever been in WWF/WWE, except for the finish. I would have loved if Savage is gonna do the job in that instance for Steamboat to hit a finisher,
right,
and get the win. But that match, I mean, that's still in one of my top 3 favorite matches of all time. Interestingly enough, Steamboat's in another one.
Yeah.
The whole Flair Steamboat series from WCW.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to sound kind of crazy, but The Miz main eventing a WrestleMania against John Cena and held up his end of the main event quite well.
And got a concussion.
Yeah, and got a concussion out of it. Anything with Eddie Guerrero in WrestleMania, to me, was just money. Like, absolute money.
When I read my card, there is an Eddie match on.
Okay. First Hell in the Cell, Taker and Shawn, unbelievable. Being at WrestleMania 15 in Philly, seeing the first Rock Austin main event, and the pop that Jim Ross got coming out to do commentary on that match after coming back from the bout with Bell's palsy.
Mm-hmm.
Geez, I mean, go to Santa, fast forward to Santa Clara, and Seth Rollins taking a ridiculous RKO, on the second or third match of the main show, and then coming back and cashing in and winning the title in the main event. I mean, just so many, insane memories. And I mean, and then, Pete Rose getting tombstoned, the San Diego Chicken getting tombstoned. I mean, and in the early days, Bob Uecker and, Pamela Anderson, Jenny McCarthy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, yeah, I mean, there was just,
Puppies.
there's just so many moments and memories and everything. Like, it all just kind of like, it just floods together. I mean, it's like when you guys sit here and you can actually recall like which matches were on which shows and who went over and stuff like that. Like, to me, like that, I'm just amazed by that, because for me, it's just like I've been watching it for so long that it's just hard to like even remember like where everything fits together a lot of the times. Like the most recent ones, of course, but got like Edge. I mean, I may very well be like the biggest Edge mark that I know. I love that guy. I mean, I would say it's at least once a month that I go back and I watch like his retirement speech, because it's just like it's so everything about that guy. And then when they hit his music at the end and he walks up the ramp and he's got his back to the crowd and he throws up the horns, like total mark out moment for me. Like, tables, ladders and chairs matches with the Dudleys and the Hardys. I mean, just everything. It's just to me, it is what it is. It's the Super Bowl of professional wrestling. Yeah, it's definitely WWE's version of the Super Bowl. And I dig how, like, people say, like, the Raw after WrestleMania is the beginning of their new season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would love it if, like, every feud that's going on would actually just end at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And it used to be that way. Now there's been a lot of, like, carryover and things bleed into, the next month, whatever. They make a big deal out of WrestleMania rematches, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you have the series with, Rock and Austin where they main evented 3 WrestleManias in a row. But even back then, it didn't just carry through. Right. There were slight and very purposeful pauses after WrestleMania, but then it would pick up again and build up in time for the next one. And it was great how when they had that series, it wasn't always, the same guy playing babyface and heel too. I mean, they kind of went back and forth on that a little bit. And, great stuff there. I loved Hogan and The Rock for what it was. I mean, it's not going to be it's not a 5-star match anywhere, but
double turn, man. That's one of the few classic double turns.
Oh yeah.
I made my card here too.
Go for it. Do it.
So
here we go.
With the premise, you can only use them once.
Okay.
So I'll go down. So I'm going to change it up. So I have Shawn Taker 25.
Is your main event?
Probably. No, it wouldn't be my closeout.
Okay.
Which is why I didn't go with the retirement match.
Okay.
Brett and Owen from 10.
Yeah. Unbelievable match.
Yeah.
Maybe the hottest opener that a WrestleMania has ever seen, by the way.
A fantastic match.
Too soon.
Yeah, that is wrong.
It's always going to be too soon for that.
Too soon.
Eddie and Mysterio from 21.
Okay.
All right.
Cena and Big Show for the U.S. title from 20. Because that's when Cena had his first WrestleMania.
Right.
First big win. Put him on the stage. And him hitting the Attitude Adjustment on Big Show was fucking epic.
I was not expecting
that was huge at that time.
Right.
Yep.
So I have that. That would probably be my opener.
Okay.
I have the women's triple threat match from 32.
Okay.
To get the women on the card. I have Hogan and Piper. Or Hogan and Mr. T versus Piper and Orton.
And Orton. Orton Sr.
I have
Cowboy Bob.
I
yeah.
have Rock and Austin from 19 because it's not my title match.
Right.
I have the tag team ladder match from 33. I thought that was fucking awesome the way that whole thing went. And then Savage Steamboat Intercontinental title. And then I have Lesnar Reigns with the Seth Cashin closing out the show at 31. That's my all-time 10 matches all-time WrestleMania card.
So run that down again one more time. Just roll it really quick.
So Shawn Taker 25, Intercontinental title Savage and Steamboat from 3. Lesnar and Reigns with the Seth Cashin 31. Brett and Owen, Rock Austin from 19. Tag team ladder match from last year's 33. Eddie and Mysterio from 21. Cena Big Show 20. Triple threat women's match from 32 between Charlotte, Sasha, and Becky. And then Hogan, Mr. T, Orton, Piper.
Okay. Interesting notable absences from the card. And I get it. You can only do so much.
I can only do them once, so.
I mean.
I wanted to put. This is a small thing for me. I wanted to put Piper Goldust from 12. I love the fucking
I was
going to
say, you could have.
But
easily.
But the only way I could get Hogan on the card that he wasn't in a title match, because I wanted to do Hogan and Andre, was I had to do the tag match. That
was Hogan Edge at WrestleMania?
What's that?
Hogan and Edge, was that at
No,
WrestleMania?
no.
I didn't think
That
so.
was SummerSlam. No, it wasn't SummerSlam.
Or Survivor Series.
Hogan and Michaels was
Right,
SummerSlam.
I'll say I might switch out the Lesnar match for Lesnar and Kurt Angle.
Nothing wrong with that.
Other than the
from
fact that,
19. Oh, he almost died on this.
yeah, other than the fact that he almost killed himself in the match.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be mad at that. I
So,
get it.
no Benoit, no Edge and Christian, no Dudleys,
No Hardys.
no Hardys.
The Hardys.
Oh, no, the Hardys are in the ladder
Oh, yeah,
match
you
from
had to-
33.
Forgot.
No Flair. I mean, and it's
Yeah.
tough. I mean,
Well, I couldn't do Flair because him and Savage is for the title, and I don't think it's the greatest world title match that
Right.
they've had. So if I'm having one, I like him and Taker, but Taker and Michaels is far more
Way
epic
better,
for an
yeah.
Undertaker. And then him and Michaels, again, to me, Taker Michaels is just for me more of an epic match.
right.
To me, it's my favorite match of all time. So I can't
Definitely
beat
one of
anything over it.
Yeah.
It was just tough for me to find a spot for him and in the card. I just couldn't find a right.
And I
fit for
get
him.
that. I totally get that. It's tough to.
I will throw.
It's tough if you can only use each guy once.
well,
to,
I'll say this: I will get Edge on the because 22 Edge and Foley.
Edge and Foley.
Yeah.
I did bypass that, and so that's a reprieve on mine. I will
All
add
right.
that onto the card.
Oh, now you get Foley on there too.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it. Good stuff.
Yeah,
Real good stuff.
It's tough to piece it. That's why I was like, oh, I got to think about this because then I'm like, oh, this match. I'm like, oh shit, that's a title match. Wait, there's a better title match. I love that question, by the way. That was a great question.
That is a great question.
It really makes you dig deep, and you're like, man, like what? How would I book this? And I felt like you had to get something WrestleMania 1 on there.
Yeah, you have to.
So
Although WrestleMania 1, I may have gone Wendy Richter and Moolah and kind of.
I hate Moolah
Oh,
though. I
there we
couldn't
go.
do it. I hate her. I couldn't do it. I never have been a Moolah fan. So with all the bullshit that's come out about her, I ain't tickle me surprised, okay? Because I ain't surprised about none of it.
Not gonna lie, during the Attitude Era, I loved her and Mae Young doing their bits and stuff like that.
That shit was
Absolutely
like it was
loved
funny. I loved Mae Young more than her.
Yes.
So
yes.
like I still didn't feel like other than her taking that Dudley or the power, she took a power bomb through the table, right? Off
Mae
the
Young
stage.
did. Mae
It was
Young
Mae
did.
Young.
Yeah.
What bump did she take? I know Moolah took. Might have been with Jeff Jarrett. She took the
She took the
took
guitar.
Okay, good
She
for
had a
Jeff.
pretty good she had okay. I mean, not that it's a good match by no means, but her and Ivory when Moolah went over for the belt. I mean, for her age,
Poor
man,
Ivory.
she was in there
Poor Ivory.
moving around like
They put
she
that shit on her.
You didn't have Triple H on there anywhere either, did you?
Excuse me.
Ooh, no.
No, surprisingly.
I didn't because it was tough for me to find a spot
Yeah,
for
I
him.
mean it is. It's. I mean, unless you're gonna have
You can walk
like
up to him now. Sorry,
unless you're
I
gonna
don't
have
have a spot for you.
14 matches on the card, it is.
Well,
I mean,
in
it is tough
fairness,
to.
it is 14. I can do a pre-show.
Well, you got like a
Greatest
4-hour
match.
pre-show now,
Yeah.
so you can toss him on the pre-show.
I mean, if I'm gonna go, I have to do like him and Warrior because every other match has been pretty much a title match, and I'm not
Right.
gonna.
We could be on the main card. It was a 30-second match, right?
Yeah,
could
yeah.
throw
That'll
it on
be
the main
that's a
card.
pre-show match, guys.
There you go. David Rosca said my favorite was Gold Dust versus Rowdy Piper.
Yes. See, I'm
And
not
then-
the only one who loved that.
And then he says Lesnar versus Angle and Eddie versus Angle.
Yeah, I mean,
Eddie Angle
great
was great.
matches.
Yeah.
I mean,
the
that,
end was awesome too.
you talk about 20 with Vacant winning the title, and then Guerrero winning the title. I mean, classic. And here's the thing.
See, I'm a dick. I'll mention him by name. I will never ever excuse what he did, but I'll mention him by name.
Yeah, well, that's fair. I do it more as a joke. When
know.
I talk to people, I'll say his name. But it's funny that he loves it. And what I loved about the Hollywood backlot brawl, it was like they didn't take it too seriously
Right.
at a time where they almost tried to be serious about a lot of things. And like stealing the clips from the Bronco chase and wearing the really awkward lingerie with fucking chains under. Like it was just so hilariously done to me without being too over the top. I feel like that was a little ahead of its time as opposed to like you're talking about the ultimate deletion and like goofy stuff now.
Yep.
I thought it was fun and it was perfect for Piper
Oh yeah.
coming in with the bat and hitting the gold car. It's awesome.
the gold Cadillac
The
to
gold
me
Cadillac.
made the whole thing.
Oh,
for
it's
me.
amazing. Piper getting chased by the police. Fucking great. I love it.
So we got about 9 minutes left.
Yeah.
So what haven't we covered yet that you want to get into? Do we have any more matches on the current card that we didn't make predictions on, or?
I mean, I think we covered the majority of them. Let's talk about greatest performers of WrestleMania, though. I mean,
Okay.
it was our poll question. I think we've talked around it, referencing guys.
Right.
So, to me, and those 4 we listed, I think were primarily probably look back and had the most epic moments consistently in and out, or were the guys that drove certain eras, right? As
Right.
far as WrestleMania. So, for me, it's hard to argue against Undertaker in the streak and what that meant to WrestleMania. It's something that transcended and went above WrestleMania. It was like bigger than Mania at some points.
I agree with that. The only counterpoint that I would make to that is if you look at the early part of the streak, he had some pretty shitty matches against opponents that were just literally like, we need to have Undertaker on the card. We're going to feed you Jimmy Snuka. We're going to feed you whoever. And just, I mean, it was probably the first.
You mean his match against El Gigante?
Yeah.
Giant Gonzalez wasn't fantastic?
Exactly my point.
Yeah.
I mean, it had to be the first 8 or 9 matches of the streak. There might have been 1 or 2 good ones in the bunch, but in later years, when they really started paying attention to the streak, absolutely monumental.
Yeah, and see, but my thing with that, too, that's a very fair point. But it just happened so organically, though. Like, it wasn't like we're going to have this guy win every match for fucking the next 15 years or 20 years. It just happened so organically. It's tough for me to not, but to me, the most spectacular in-ring performer was Shawn Michaels.
Oh, yeah.
He fucking put Tito in his place to start it off, really. Okay? Let's be real. He exposed Tito for what he is, a fucking jobber. And then you talk about guy, you go down the list, and better, Tatanka. You had a couple jobber ones in the beginning, but then you talk about Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho, 2 classics with The Undertaker, Michaels and Triple H and Vacant. I mean, you go down the list of the epic Flair. I mean, it was match after Bret Hart and classic after classic after classic. Probably his worst match aside from Tito and maybe what was the early one he had? It was a tag match when he was the Rockers. I don't remember who they faced. It might have been the Orient Express or something.
I think it was Power and Glory.
Might have been Power and Glory. But you talk about that, it might have been the Austin match
Because his back was shot.
but with that though, and you're absolutely right. But then if you look at it from a different view, you're like, man, the shit he was able to do in that match, knowing after the fact how jacked up he was.
Oh yeah,
crazy.
No question. I mean, for me, I'm right there with you. I mean, I can't dispute any of that. I think going back to your point about the streak, though, I think you're right in the sense that it was very organic. I do think, though, that they probably got to a point, and I'm going to say it was probably somewhere around the 12th or 13th match, where I think Vince kind of woke up and said, hey, wait a minute. This guy's never actually lost at WrestleMania. We need to just keep this going as long as we can.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you that at least the first dozen or so were absolutely organic. Yeah, I mean, to me, it comes down to either Michaels or Undertaker. I mean, all due respect to Hogan. I mean, to this day, he's still probably the biggest draw in the history of the industry. I mean,
him or Austin.
Yeah, him or Austin. I mean, different generations. Like, and it's just, no, you can't. There's really not a wrong answer to the question. It all just depends on what you like and who you liked at a given time.
Right.
I think 2 of mine are obviously Shawn and even Stone Cold. I mean, his match with Bret Hart at WrestleMania 13 was insanely good. I mean, from start to finish, it was just intense. It was awesome. That's what made, to me, Stone, like,
the double turn.
Hell, we're talking about my Mania card. I may have to take some of these off and do like, I'll put that in, and then this way I can take Rock, and I'll do Rock and Eric Rowan in my Ultimate WrestleMania card just to get Rock on the card.
Pre-show again, another 30 seconds.
Pre-show.
But
that again, epic, organic moment from WrestleMania, which is, I mean, it's freaking. It was like a revolutionary moment at that point. Yeah. Crazy. And another Chicago crowd. I'll give them that. Chicago had some great crowds. What about you?
I kind of references Laura or Shawn Michaels is definitely my pick because I don't think you can talk WrestleMania without mentioning Shawn Michaels in some capacity. And you can say the same to other superstars you've mentioned: Austin, Hogan, Undertaker, obviously Flair. But for me, like he is Mr. WrestleMania. That's how he's built. Because whenever he was on WrestleMania, you had to watch the match because you knew something. You're about to witness something special. Regardless of whoever his opponent was, you were going to witness something special whenever he was in the ring. And even when Triple H was going on that feud where he won the feud with Undertaker, and after Michaels had retired, Michaels comes out, he's like, "You can't beat him. Like I don't know why you're doing it." And then it starts with the whole. It was just like, just Shawn Michaels himself. Yeah, if he only showed up at WrestleMania just to do like a promo or some sort, I'd be happy.
Like still continuing to tell stories even after the fact, like the Hell in a Cell with Undertaker and Triple H, him the special guest referee, the inner conflict. He super kicks him. He tries to help out his buddy. And then it's like that inner conflict that he's having because he's still bitter about the years before. Like, that's great stuff. Yeah, fucking Shawn Michaels, man. Epic. That match to me is a very underrated match. I don't think people talk enough about it. It really was kind of the end of an era. Yeah. They finally put all that stuff behind them. I mean, it was a great match. I do like it does make me laugh, though, when WWE talks about Hunter and Undertaker. Like, they never reference WrestleMania 17.
Yeah, like it never happened.
Never happened.
Never happened.
But no, I mean, and it's all fair points, and I agree with you. I think it's whatever your preference is.
Yeah. Everybody's got their guy.
Yeah.
I think one of the coolest moments for me, anyway, was 29. That was my first one I've gone to.
Me too.
Just seeing my child's generation versus my generation, which was Rock and Cena.
Right.
Like I thought that that's I think. Yeah, I love that nostalgia thing at WrestleMania, and that was one of the biggest ones right there. Was like two different generations and it wasn't a bad match at all.
No, it wasn't.
It really wasn't.
The only slight problem is it was very similar to the match the year before. They didn't do enough to change it up the creative, but I agree with you. I think that it's very underrated, and it was cool. It's like for me, my first WrestleMania, I got to see Rock main event of WrestleMania.
Yeah. Would you have thought that?
When I was a kid, I never got to see Hogan in the ring. I had tickets one time, and it was when he ended up getting hurt, and he was out for like almost a year with WCW. So I never got that chance to actually see Hogan in the ring. So between that and getting to see The Rock, and then at the very least with 31, the thing I take, A, getting to see Sting at WrestleMania, B, getting to see that cash-in was freaking epic. And I could tell you right now, for me, I was there with my best friend, and we're all marks. But for me to, like, literally, the child in me, I looked over at him, and he had a face like, he literally was like, and I always tell him, like, I have a memory of my best friend, like, pure happiness of, like, us being adults and everything that we go through every day to have that moment where we can just suspend reality and be a kid again. I will take that to my grave as one of my favorite moments in my life.
Mark's jumping up and down out of his seat when Seth Rollins came out because he kept calling it all night, like, "Nah, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah,
it's not gonna happen." And boom, there he was.
We got less than a minute left. Real quick, which match are you most looking forward to this year, and who's going to win?
I know it's a gimmicky match. I'm looking at the mixed tag match because, again, I'm a huge Ronda Rousey fan. I was excited to see her debut at Royal Rumble. So only main reason is I really want to see what she does. But obviously, I think it's gonna be Ronda and Angle over Triple H and Stephanie.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Charlotte and Asuka.
And you got Asuka with the win.
Asuka with the win, but I think it's really, really gonna be good.
All right, I'm going Finn Balor, Seth Rollins, and The Miz. And I'm a Balor mark, so I'm going Balor.
I'm going to go Cena and Undertaker. It's a moment I wanted to see forever. Actually, I'm going to take it back. I'm going to go Nakamura and AJ because the day that they signed, I said it on the first episode of Lazy Booking was when they signed, and I said that will be a main event WrestleMania match. 2 years later, he got it.
We'll keep the cameras rolling, and if there's a title change, we'll show it to you next week. We got to go.
We'll see you next week on Thunder. Guys, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you to all of our sponsors, Gibson Mayer, LLC, our certified public accountants. Make them yours, GibsonMayer.com. Scanzano Sports, Stream Smart, Vinny, BMW of Atlantic City in the studios. To all of you guys, Chrome, anybody who's going to WrestleMania, enjoy it. If you're watching it, enjoy the show. We're out.
Oh, One
go
thing,
ahead.
real quick. Next week we have the baseball roundtable.
Oh, we
so
do.
I wanna make
That's
sure
right.
to plug that.
Roundtable next week.
Next
Baseball.
Saturday we got the baseball opening day roundtable. So make sure that you guys join us next Saturday. Okay. We out. Deuces.